Hey kids, it's time to get some SML podcast all up in that.
Hearing grunge on like the classic rock radio station was
yeah.
I'm so old moment.
Yeah, when I turned on the classic rock station and I heard Nirvana, I was just like, oh no, it's happening.
Yeah. And then, like a couple years later, when I heard Green Day on the classic rock.
My soul.
No!
My soul hurts. My soul hurts.
You should have started that whole conversation we were just having. Should have been part of it.
See, the fun thing is, like, maybe I recorded all that, and maybe that'll be like the cold open to the show. Maybe.
Oh.
See, I'm always thinking, as soon as things start and as soon as OBS is ready to go, I hit that start record button just to make sure, just in case.
Keep us all in suspense.
Just in case we talk about how Green Day is classic rock and how old we feel and how much we await the sweet embrace of death.
Yep.
On that note, what's up, everyone? This is the SML Podcast. I am your host, Joe. Joining me as co-host this week, Tom Miller. Tom, how are you doing today, sir?
Hey, all is well. How about over there?
It's dark out. I mean, I guess that's a start, huh?
Well, it's pretty light over here, actually, because we're 3 hours apart, so, you know.
Shocking, it would still be bright over there.
Yeah, I know. It's 4 o'clock. In a few weeks, it's going to be dark at this time, but, you know. But now it's pretty cool. Yeah.
But we are not alone this week, Tom, are we?
We are not.
We are not, because we are joined by Louie Aronowitz. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Yes! Musician Louie Aronowitz. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. I'm very well. I'm waving to everybody right now, but you can't see.
I'm waving back and my camera isn't even on, so.
My camera is on, so I will wave to everyone
All right.
hanging out in chat. Chat is slowly starting to fill up. I'm sure we'll get a couple of people dropping by because later on the show, we will be announcing our SMLoween contest winners, which I know everybody is going nuts about. Should be pretty interesting. But before then, Louie, you're here to talk about your album, Thrashlevania, correct?
Yeah. I mean, I guess. I could talk about whatever you want, really.
Well, we might as well start, get the business out of the way, and then we'll get to the party stuff. We're like a mullet. We start off with the business, and then shit just gets crazy the further you go.
Love it.
That was a pretty good analogy. I'm proud of myself for that one. So tell us, what is Thrashlevania?
Well, I guess it's like metal, rock, thrash covers of Castlevania. But it's the original Castlevania game. It's covers of all the levels timed out to how you play the game so that you can just push play and listen to the music while you play.
Interesting.
Yeah,
is that for casuals to play along to, or is it for speedrunners?
I mean, my casual playing is a speedrun, so I don't know. No, yeah, it's timed out to a speedrun, but not a super fast, not a world record speedrun. It's a little bit on the slower side. It's not too bad, but you need to. You're not going to be fumbling through the game.
Yeah, well, it's you said it was around 15. Well, it is around 15 minutes to get through the actual gameplay parts of it, and that's I've spent 25 years playing it, and I still haven't beaten it. So I guess it depends on your skill level, really. But I don't know. It's a cool concept for an album. I love the flow that it has because of that timing to the speedrun.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was like that too. I'd been playing it for years and never beat it. And then when I finally figured out how to beat it, I was like, oh, I should make a record for this. But that was the whole point of the record, was just so I could listen to it while I play.
What made you just want to recreate the soundtrack to fit your speedruns, though? What triggered in your head, NES music is okay, but I'd rather listen to myself?
I think you just defined my whole personality. No, the music in it is so good. All those NES games are so good. and I already love covering video game music anyway. I think the Castlevania thing specifically happened because, one, it was kind of like fresh in my mind, like I had just figured out how to beat it, and so I had all the music in my head. Also, it's very short. It only takes 15 minutes, so it's like, this is a project I can do and not dedicate too much time to. And then also, the main thing with it was I had a good pun for it.
That's the key to any album.
Originally, it was going to be Castlevania, and it was going to be all ska covers. And I was like, I have this thing where, like, if I think of a ska pun, I'm going to record ska cover. It's happening.
Is that going to be the sequel?
No, I originally recorded it all as ska, and then, like, most of the songs, I was like, these would be better as, like, shred metal guitar.
And it works really well. I know it's 7 songs. The total album is like 18 and a half minutes for everything. Something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I had to make music for the in-between stuff that made it longer, too. That was like when I first recorded it all, I had the record and like I timed out the levels perfectly and it goes into like the boss battles and everything like that. And then I put it on to play the game and there's like 30 seconds between levels where it's like your points are counting up and then you're walking the map. And I was like, I gotta write stuff for this.
But you did it and now you have an album out and damn, that means you could beat the game in 15 minutes? What the hell?
I actually have gotten faster now, too. Like, when I play along with the record, I have to stop and wait for the record to catch up to me.
Oh, wow.
So your own album is outdated now.
Yep.
You got to rewrite everything to...
Thrashlevania 2.0, because I got better. So, what do you speedrun a lot of games, or is it just Castlevania? Is that a passion of yours to do speedrunning stuff?
When I was like little, I used to speedrun a lot of games. Not as like an official thing of like, I'm going to learn how to speedrun all these games, but just like I played a lot of video games and would learn how to play them and beat them. So I like a million years ago used to be able to do like all the Mega Mans, both Zeldas, like a bunch of different things. Now I think I can only do like Mega Man 2 and Castlevania, I think is it. And maybe like Zelda 2.
I don't think I've ever even beat Zelda 2.
Zelda 2 is a tricky one.
It's just such an oddball of a game. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both of those games are so hard. Like, I went to play them recently and I was like, wow, how, like, what?
Yeah. I actually just recently got that Mega Man Legacy Collection on Steam, and I've been playing through all those again. And it's like, I don't know how I didn't have a problem with some of this stuff when I was a kid. It's kind of, yeah.
But you said Mega Man 2, which I personally love. It was the second Mega Man game. It was the first Mega Man game I personally beat, though, because I could never beat the original Mega Man. And to this day, Mega Man 2 is just still my favorite. I love it.
Yeah.
It's a good.
You can't beat that Metal Blade.
That's fun.
Metal Blade was the best cheese weapon in the history of the Mega Man franchise.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It kills everybody.
Oh, man. Good stuff. What other games did you grow up enjoying to play?
That's those big franchises are kind of it, really. Like Zelda, Mega Man, and Mario. I never had a Super Nintendo, so I skipped over that. And then after N64, I kind of stopped playing video games. So like post Majora's Mask, the only games I've played are the subsequent Zelda games. That's it. Like I don't play anything else anymore. But yeah, like I played all the Mega Man games. I think when I was little, I used to be able to play Contra and stuff like that. Sega also, Sega Genesis, like the Sonic games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was never a Sega guy growing up.
Yeah. When Sega came out, me and my brother got the choice of either Sega or Super Nintendo. Couldn't have both. We could get one of them.
Yeah. It was the same with me when I was a kid. I went Super Nintendo though, so that was where our paths diverged.
Yeah, Tom, you know what's up. We went Super Nintendo. So we're the good people. Louie, you're the enemy. We have to hate each other for all of eternity.
No.
So you don't play anything nowadays? No newer games are on your radar?
The last game that I got was Breath of the Wild, and the last game before that was Twilight Princess.
Oh, damn. Are you on Mario Odyssey? Because that's out this week.
I think I might want to get that. Like, Breath of the Wild kind of got me back into video games now a little bit. So I might want to go for the Mario Odyssey, but like at the same time, I'm kind of like, I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to it.
Yeah.
So like, is it really like for Zelda, I like really have to set aside some time and be like, I'm going to sit down and play this on Sunday all day. But like, I don't know if I have that in me for another game.
I mean, the reviews have been coming out all day today, and Mario Odyssey is it's getting some nice scores out there.
Yeah. I've heard it's really good. Yeah.
I know. I'm excited to get my hands on it.
Yeah, likewise. I don't even have a Switch, so yeah. But
I want to play it to help to write. I write for a satire site, and we're trying to write an article about it. So I kind of want to get it so I can write like jokes about it.
Nice.
What site do you write for?
The Hard Times.
Oh, all right.
It's like the best thing ever.
Yeah, I love that site.
But so they have like an offshoot called Hard Drive that's for video game stuff. And so I'm like trying to do a Mario thing for the new game.
What kind of stories have you shared on that site? Give us something good. What's one of the better things you've written?
I just had a story. Well, for Hard Times, I just had a story like a couple days ago that was banned down to only 9,994 copies of new record left.
Yeah, I saw that.
I did one that was the Shins eagerly awaiting next Zach Braff movie. For Hard Drive, I have one coming out that I just did that was Star Wars Wedding Doesn't Follow Canon. And it's all about them being like, hold on, that's not accurate to Star Wars.
Could just imagine being at a wedding and there's some neckbeard in the back who's like, excuse me guys, the way that you're walking down the aisle, it wouldn't fit in with the proper Star Wars canon. And the dress that you're wearing is just all wrong, and the colors aren't right, and like they didn't have these streamers back in the Star Wars era, and oh god, I'm so sweaty right now. I didn't know how long I could go with that. I was waiting for someone to like interrupt me and make me stop.
I was just gonna let you keep going as long as you wanted to.
Tom, you dick. Oh man. So what other music do you do?
Well, my main thing, like for work, is like scoring, like movies and TV and video games and commercials and stuff like that. And then for funsies, I write like rock songs.
Interesting
cool.
Change of pace.
Do you have any titles that I mean? Yeah, what kind of stuff have you worked on? I'm really curious to check it out.
Probably nothing that you've heard of.
Oh, okay.
Not really like big time stuff, sadly. I submitted on a commercial that was like a national commercial that you can't tell anybody what it's for because I signed an NDA, but it's a really big, potentially video game related company.
Ooh.
Interesting.
But I submitted. That's like you go up against a bunch of other people, so I doubt they're going to use my music. But I did. Let me think. I did a sketch that was on College Humor.
Cool.
I did a short film that was on Funny or Die. I did a movie that was in Tribeca called Shut Up and Drive. Soundtrack online if you're interested.
Yeah.
I'm doing a show right now. I'm doing this series. It's called Myrtle and Willoughby. I don't know any more details for you. Like, when it's going to come out. I don't know if it's going to be a web series or on TV or anything, but it's super, super funny. So that's cool. and I get to do really weird music for it.
Oh, weird music is the best.
And it's like such a cool project where like there's all different styles. It's not just like when I did a pilot that was for like a fake noir kind of thing, and it was all just like dark and ominous tones. Like
yeah.
But this is more like make like high energy techno, and then make like spooky, but in a yoga studio thing. Then make like it's like
spooky yoga sounds like the trend of the fall season. Just like, ooh, come on, girls, we're going to yoga. Ooh, what are we doing today? Spooky yoga. Oh, it was Karen.
Like, there's like theremin in it, just going like woo woo.
Fuck so yeah, silly. Theremin. That's an instrument you don't hear enough of these days. Theremin.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Any other goofy instruments that you use at all?
I mean, if they have a sample of it in Atmosphere, I'm putting it in the song. Nice. I don't have too many weird instruments like physically. Like I guess I have like mandolin and ukulele and glockenspiel and like stuff like that, but that's not like weird things. But if they have like weird samples in Logic, then I'm down to use whatever. Offhand, I can't really think of any good examples, but it's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever works, right?
There's also a really sweet instrument that's the sound of my phone getting a text message in the background of stuff.
I've used that on this podcast a couple times.
That happens to me frequently, too. Usually email, though. So just randomly, people will hear the victory theme from Earthbound in the background of the show.
Nice.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's been too.
Oh, man. I love my Earthbound. I can't help it. So I know on this show previously when I've talked to musicians, the one weird instrument that always seems to come up is an automaton. Have you done anything with an automaton?
Nope. I don't even know what that is.
What? You don't know what an automaton is? Oh, shit.
Maybe
it looks like
recognize it, but I don't know the name now.
It looks like a quarter note with the face on it, and it has like it sort of has a theremin like tone to it. But if you know Michaela Noctigal or Michaela Chu, who does stuff on YouTube, and she's a member of the Materia Collective as well. She does all kinds of really, really good automaton remixes.
Oh, cool.
Which is weird because it was kind of made as like a novelty instrument, I think. And if you don't play it well, it sounds horrible, but like she makes it sound good. So
nice.
Yeah.
I never really got like super into like the weird instruments. I think there's like a divergence of your musical experimentation where instead of going for weird instruments, I went for weird ideas on traditional instruments.
Yeah.
So I've always been more towards that side of things. Like, yeah, I'm going to use like a 3-piece punk band, but we're going to play in 17/8.
Nice.
We're going to do this and do that.
If anyone is watching the stream, I'm actually holding my automaton.
Oh.
It's so stupid. I love this thing.
I gotta get myself one of those one of these times. When I went to Mag West, my roommate brought one along with him, so I spent a lot of the downtime messing around with it.
It's so good. They're like impossible to play too. Yet some people somehow still master them. I don't get it.
Like Castlevania.
Yeah, exactly.
So is the original Castlevania your favorite Castlevania game, or is it just the most memorable for music, or just the one you enjoy speedrunning the most?
I'm about to drop a bombshell on you. I'm a total fake nerd. That's the only Castlevania I've ever played.
Oh man. Someone needs to play Symphony of the Night.
I have heard that exact phrase a million times in my life. Everyone says that.
So what are you waiting for? No answer.
I got nothing for you. I don't really know anything about the Castlevania series even. I just had the first game and like remembered never beating it. And so recently I was like, I'll try it. Let's see if I can figure it out.
And it led to you speedrunning it and making an album over it. That is hell of a turn of events.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh man. So what else do you do? Tell us about you.
Like besides music stuff?
Yeah.
I do a lot of like comedy stuff, I guess. Because I write for Hard Times, and then I also write for like Funny or Die occasionally. Above Average. I do like sketch stuff with UCB.
Oh wow.
So stuff like that. Then I also do I do some voiceover stuff too. Not like a lot because I don't really pursue it all that seriously, but it's like a fun thing. And because I have access to the recording studio, it's like I may as well do it. Like I'm able to record vocals.
Oh yeah.
And then I just record a bunch of music for funsies.
Any voice stuff we may have heard you in?
No, definitely not.
So you're not in like a Charmin commercial or anything?
I forget what it was for, but I auditioned to do voiceover for some commercial at one point and did not get it. And then like a month later, got the project, got that commercial, and was asked to submit music on it.
Oh.
And it had someone else's voiceover. And I submitted music, and again, did not get it.
Oh, those bastards.
I'm
Got
like...
Too bad. You could have written the music to go like exactly over their voice just to spite them.
I kind of want to like get into copywriting so they can reject that too, and I can get like the hat trick of reject. Just all three.
Every time the guy in the commercial would talk during your music, it's just...
Perfect.
What did the guy say? I don't know, but that music's amazing.
Love it. Genius.
I'm guessing you do a lot of improv stuff?
I did for a little bit. I kind of stopped. It was like, it's one of those things where it was just like, I got really busy. I had like one too many things happening in my life, and I was like, yeah, I think improv can go.
Yeah, I definitely hear you on that.
Like, it's a lot of fun, but, you know, I have like other things that are maybe a little more important right now.
So we're not going to see you on Who's Line?
Probably not.
Oh, man. Oh, so Tom, do you have any kind of questions you could ask?
Well,
Trying to find a good topic of conversation. Every time I think of something, I'm like, well, what games do you play? Well, I don't play many games. Well, what other Castlevania games do you play? I don't play a Castlevania game. You're a tough nut to crack, Louie.
So, Louie, you and I are both members of the Materia Collective, which is it's an online music remixing group that's been going on for a couple years now. Has it been 2 years? I think it has.
Might be 3 already.
Jeez, man. Time is passing quickly. So, yeah, and I know, I know you've worked on a couple remixes for that, and there was one there was an album where we remixed the entire soundtrack to Final Fantasy VIII. Well, it was us and like 300 other people or something. It was a massive project. And you can go to materiacollective.org or you find it on iTunes or Spotify or Bandcamp. And but you did a track for it called "Skies on Me," and it was excellent. And I just like you had it was a ska take on "Eyes on Me" naturally. And so I know you've mentioned that you were thinking about doing like a ska cover for the Castlevania soundtrack. Is that something that you tend to do? And like, what was it that gave you the inspiration to do that? Because it's so far different from the original, and it cracked me up and it made me very happy.
Oh, thank you. Well, that is kind of like a funny story behind that song, because that song is how I got involved with Materia in the first place, where I like to do ska covers of stuff sometimes, mostly just because of the ska puns.
Yeah.
But it's like a fun thing to do, whatever. And a friend of mine who was working on something for Materia for the Final Fantasy album had texted me like, "Oh, I want to do a cover of this song Eyes on Me. We should do it together. We should do like a ska thing for it," because he likes ska.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Oh, yeah, awesome. That sounds like fun. Great." And so I started doing it, and I was like, "All right, I'll record like, I'll do like guitar and drums, and I'll send that to you," because he plays bass, and he wanted to like get like a live horn section and stuff like that. So I'm like, "I'll do guitar and drums, and I'll send that to you." And he didn't really add anything to it for a while because he got busy. And so I was like, "Oh, I'll throw some vocals on it. And I mean, I'm here. I might as well just do the bass." And I sent it to him again, and he never had a chance to do it. And then he texted me again. He's like, "I don't think I have enough time to like really like work on this at all." And so I was like, "All right, well, I already recorded everything. So I guess." So like I emailed Sebastian for the first time. I was like, "Hey man, we had met at MagFest, but I was like, hey man, I don't know if you remember me. I'm not really part of Materia, but I kind of inadvertently made a song for the new record. So I guess this is like my thing now."
Nice.
That's funny. That's a hell of a collaboration.
Yeah,
And
it's happened a couple of times now too.
yeah, are you working on any new projects with Materia? I mean, I know of course you just released this new album, but are there any other remixes that you can talk about at least that you're currently working on?
Yeah, I
know of one in particular that I don't think we can talk about yet, but
yeah, I'm working on that one. I'm doing like a couple of things for that one, and I guess this will make sense once it's made public. We're not really supposed to talk about it, but the next project they're doing, when I sent off like the finals for Thrashlevania, I was gonna write in like, I think for my next album I'm gonna do this, but I didn't because I was like, I don't know if I really want to. And then like 2 days later they announced that project, and I was like, oh, that's exactly what I'm gonna do.
nice.
But yeah, I'm doing one track on my own for that, and then I'm working on a couple other things. There's one song I'm working on that initially I was just going to do vocals, and then when he sent me the demo, I was like, well, I mean, I'm here. I'll just do some guitar and drums, whatever. So I think I might be playing a lot more on that, but I don't know yet. I think all my other Materia stuff's already out. Like I was on the Ori album and the Fez album, and I don't remember what else. The Sonic album, the Battle album, which was like probably the best pun ever. Scombat. I was like, obviously I have to cover that.
What other terrible puns have you had?
Oh god.
Scombat. Oh my god.
I should.
What have we unleashed?
They're so stupid.
Stupid puns are my favorite puns, by the way.
Yeah, that's the whole reason that I do the covers, is just when I think of the puns, I'm like,
I don't actually like video games or music. I just love horrible puns, and this is my gateway to forcing all of you to hear them.
I'd be lying if I said I hadn't done exactly the same thing before, so.
Again, I'm sitting here talking about my contest being SMLoween, so
I love that. That's so good.
Gotta find a way to just lure people into being a part of my dumb show, huh?
Let's see. One of the ones that was suggested to me from someone else that I did was Ska Spangled Banner. The Beastie Boys song Scabotage.
Yes.
Did you cover that?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I need to hear that.
These are all online.
Oh my god, I need to hear Scabotage.
I did Bruce Springsteen, Born to Skank. What else? There was one that it's not a ska pun, but I made there's a song from Mario 64 with the sleeping piranha plant, and I made it like a 8-bit synthy rock thing and called it Piranha Managuchi.
Excellent.
The owl in Zelda, Scapora Gabora.
Oh God.
There-
I want to hear
these
all
go
of
on.
these.
There's a lot of these.
Oh my God, I gotta hear all of these. Piranha Monoguchi, Scabotage. Oh my God.
Didn't have a pun for it, but there is a ska Nickelback cover in there.
Oh God, why? No, really, why?
Yo, I don't care what anybody says. That first Nickelback song is awesome.
Which one?
You know the one. This is how you remind me.
God, I thought you were talking about Leader of Men, because at least that one was halfway okay.
Yo, but you know what? The thing with Nickelback, you could say whatever you want about them, but Chad Kroeger is laughing at all of us from the island that he owns.
He is. He is.
Like,
While possibly sucking his own dick, because he has done that for a case of beer, and he's admitted it in a Playboy interview, which I thought was hilarious.
What?
So, yeah. He had an interview in Playboy. I was actually mad because it was in a March issue, which is my birthday's in March. And I was like, why would you do this to me? And I think I emailed them just as a joke, like, why would you do this? Thinking it might show up in the magazine. They're like, you should read the interview. Maybe you'll get a newfound respect for him. And I read it and I replied back and I'm like, nah, sucking your own dick for beer doesn't really gain any respect for me.
I mean, but, flexibility is, yeah.
But more power to him. I sure as hell can't do that.
You know what's weird about that, though? Like, beer's not, like, that expensive.
Yeah, no. You can,
like, you could just buy it.
$10 maybe.
But it was a case. That's 24 whole bottles.
I mean, dude's a Nickelback. I'm sure he's got money. Like, just go to the store and buy some beer.
I'm going to guess this was before he was rich.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. College. People do crazy stuff in college.
I thought you meant, like, now. Like, last week he did that.
Oh, that'd be hilarious if he did. Oh, like, just as a bar trick. He's like, oh, guys, watch this. Who wants some beer? Excuse me, waitress. If I sucked my own dick, could we get a round on the house? It's like, well, you're Chad Kroeger from Nickelback. I'll just give you a round on the house the way it is. But sure, go ahead, suck your own dick in a bar. That'll earn you a round on the house. Why are we talking about this?
I don't know. You took your turn, but...
Oh, man. I will say, if Chad Kroeger was not in the band, I think I would like Nickelback a lot more. I can't stand his voice.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
That raspy, two-toned... Oh, I hate it. Ugh. But what are you going to do?
But if Nickelback asked me to come play guitar for them, I'm there. So, like, I don't know.
True. I'd sell my soul in a minute if it meant, like, hey, Nickelback wants to be on your podcast. First, why? Second, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, why not, right?
Yeah.
I have no morals or convictions. Oh, man. So what else do you want to talk about the album, about what you're doing in life, about everything? Why did you price your album $6.66? Fun stuff like that. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, well, the price thing, actually, that was all Sebastian, that part of it.
Nice.
Initially, I messaged him. I was like, oh, it'd be cool to put this out, like, on Halloween, maybe. Actually, no, I take it back. I messaged him, like, in, like, June or July. I was like, hey, I made this record. You want to do something with it? And he was like, oh, maybe we'll do it in October. And I was like, perfect, Halloween. That'll be fun. And then, like, a week before, he was like, no, we're going to put it out October 13th, Friday the 13th, for $6.66. And I'm like, dude, that's genius. Wow.
Nice.
Hey, baby.
So this was done way in the summer still?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
This was like, it's like one of those things I just kind of did it, like, in some free time, like in a day or two. It wasn't really like a serious thing. It sounds terrible to say, but, like, it was kind of just a joke. And then as I was mixing it, I was like, hey, this sounds kind of cool. Maybe I should do something with this. Because, like, if Sebastian didn't want to do anything with it, I was just going to, like, send it to a couple of friends and call it a day.
Huh.
Yeah.
And now it's out.
It does have that really, like spontaneity to it. So I don't know. I think it almost kind of works in its favor. It doesn't feel like it's, like, too overly thought out or anything. It's just kind of like, I'm gonna have some fun and make some tracks and do a fun project.
Yeah, that's what pretty much all of my covers are. It's just like, if I think of something in the morning and I have the time, then sure, I'll record a cover of that. Nice. And I think I probably have probably upwards of 50 covers that I started that I never finished because I just lost interest in them by the end of the day.
You and me both, man.
There's a folder.
Such a list of shame.
There's a folder on my hard drive of old covers dating back 5 years already that are basically finished. For most of them, I really just have to actively click bounce and post them online. They're done and ready to go, but I didn't finish them that day and then just kind of never went back to them and was whatever. I have whole albums like that.
You're going to be like Tupac and they'll be releasing your albums 10 years after you're dead. There's just so much unused material.
Yeah. I have a whole album of Queen covers that I recorded that there's I think there's one thing that needs to be punched in for it to be done. There's one little, it might be a vocal thing that's missing that I need to redo some melody or something like that. It would literally take me 30 seconds to do it, mix it, be done with it, and then I could put this album out. And I just never went back to it. Oh. It's ridiculous.
Well, I'd listen to that in a second. So
I also like to put out a lot of music under fake names.
Oh, all right.
I don't know if that's a fun little fact about me. I have 40 different bands on Spotify.
Oh my lord!
They're all the same band. It's just me.
Why all the different names? Is it how Konami had Ultra games back on the NES days to get around the release limits?
Oh, not like that, but that's really funny. I didn't realize that. The different bands are kind of different styles, so it's this is a different band. Sure, it's just me, so it's kind of the same band, but they sound a little different. So I have my I'm doing air quotes on this one, real band. My serious band, these are the songs that I'm gonna tour with and stuff if I were to ever play shows again. Then I have a band that's just pop punk. That I'll write the record in a day and just be yeah, cool, pop punk album. I have a ska band. Then I have a band that I did an album about Legend of Zelda.
Oh, really?
And so I figured I gotta make a different fake band for that because that's what Then I have a fake band for all my covers. Then there might be more of them. Oh, sometimes sometimes I like to cover an entire album at a time. And so when I do that, I'll usually make a fake band for those. So I did, I covered the Neutral Milk Hotel album, Aeroplane Over the Sea, and made Neutral Punk Hotel. I did one that I covered all of American Idiot, so I made Ska American Idiot.
Yay, more puns.
That's that whole album, every track is a ska pun for that one.
Oh my
nice.
God. Ridiculous. And where can I find this?
This stuff is all online. It's all on iTunes and Spotify and Bandcamp. I think Ska American Idiot, I think SkaAmericanIdiot.com might exist. I don't remember. NeutralPunkHotel.com also. They're all out there. I'm sure if you Google it, you'll come across it all. It's all on YouTube and stuff too.
Man, I gotta find these because I'm looking at your Bandcamp page and it's just Shut Up and Drive soundtrack and Thrashlevania, and I'm like, where is it all?
Oh yeah, none of this is under my actual name. The only reason Thrashlevania is under my name is just because I couldn't think of a good enough fake band name in time. Though, just this morning I thought of such a good fake band name that would have been perfect for Thrashlevania, The Side Quests.
Oh, there you go, man.
So now I gotta make another video game cover.
Yeah. Well, it's the impetus for another project, so
that the Side Quest would be good for an RPG cover album.
I actually kind of already have a pretty solid plan for it where I want to record covers of all the songs throughout the Anju and Kafe side quest in Zelda. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, is that Majora's Mask?
Sorry. But in Majora's Mask, one of the super complicated, weird side quests.
Yeah. The one where you're trying to help the couple get together and stuff?
Yeah, it's like weird and super complicated and like impossible without the guidebook. But I've always wanted to, I guess, like a concept cover album that's that side quest, and it's just all the songs that you hear all along that quest.
Huh. Very cool.
So that'll be the side quests if I ever do that.
And that's from what you said, Majora's Mask?
Yeah.
I never played Majora's Mask. I'm throwing away my nerd cred right there. I've never beaten it, actually. I've never gotten into the 3D Zelda games. Like everyone's like, Ocarina of Time's the greatest game ever. I'm like,
Yeah.
Like, if you say so. Like me, my favorite Zelda game is Link's Awakening.
You should definitely play those games because they're amazing.
I've tried. I can't get into the 3D Zelda stuff. I don't know. The only one I could get into was the Wind Waker, and I think it was because of the visuals.
Yeah, I think that's probably my favorite one of the 3D ones as well. Though I haven't, not having a Switch, I haven't spent much time playing Breath of the Wild.
So one, I hated Wind Waker so much. 2, you should definitely get Breath of the Wild because it's amazing.
It is.
I hated it at first, and then once I like figured out how to play it, it's the best thing ever.
I have such a hard time considering Breath of the Wild a Zelda game because it's so different from every other Zelda game.
Yeah,
but
it's awesome.
If that's the future of the series, fuck yeah, bring it on because it was incredible.
Yeah,
I like my old school top down.
Yeah.
Right on.
Oh, man. Well, I know we've had you on for a while. We do have to take care of some other stuff on the show. Do you want to stick around as we cover like the video game news of the week, or did you want to head out? What do you want to do?
I got nothing going on, so I can stay if you want.
Cool.
Unless you don't hear.
So I guess we'll tackle the news of the week. Tom, you could enjoy all this as well. I'd say the biggest news of the week was probably the fact that Xbox Originals are now available to play on the Xbox One. They released a batch of 13 original Xbox games, like the OG stuff, including Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, Ninja Gaiden Black, Crimson Skies, Fusion Frenzy, Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time, Psychonauts, Dead to Rights, Black, Grabbed by the Ghoulies, Sid Meier's Pirates, Red Faction 2, Blood Rain 2, and King of Fighters Neo Wave. Those 13 games now playable on Xbox One if you either have the original disc still laying around or if you could buy them digital.
Huh.
So that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think the sad news is that we won't apparently see another batch of OG games until spring, which kind of surprises me. I thought we would see them more frequently.
Yeah, I mean, I know there were quite a few titles that came out, and they could probably, I guess they're probably trying to stagger them just so people buy more of them, but yeah, it is kind of weird. But yeah, there are definitely some good titles there. I didn't actually have the original Xbox, but I know many of them through their reputation anyway.
Well, now if you pick up an Xbox One, you could play 13 original games. I don't know. I hope we see more before spring. I know the legalities of getting these games. There's some games on the original Xbox where the companies don't even exist anymore. And that was way back in the day when contracts were done on paper. Remember them? They also announced that in addition to the OG stuff, with the Xbox One X release coming next month, 4 games have been announced to be getting upgrades from the 360 for the Xbox One X that gives them enhanced color palettes, smoother frame rates, and 9 times the pixel count on the X, which I'm sure sounds impressive to people who know what pixel counts are. Those 4 games are Assassin's Creed, Halo 3, Fallout 3, and Oblivion. So I'm very excited for those last 2 to see how good they look on an X on 4K TVs.
Oh yeah, like I was actually just looking at some old Fallout stuff, and like even like when I don't know if they're going to be doing stuff with it like they did with like the Skyrim Legendary Edition or whatever, but I mean that looked so good when they upscaled it and did all the graphical business with it. So
no.
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting for Skyrim on the Switch. I don't know. I'm excited to dive back into that world. Speaking of the Switch, it was announced this week that Shin Megami Tensei 5 is confirmed for the Switch.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
I'm guessing you're excited about that one?
Yes, slightly.
Let's see, what other news do I have? In addition to the backward compatible titles from the original Xbox, 5 more 360 games were announced today as playable on the Xbox One, including 0 Day Attack on Earth, Deadfall Adventures, Girl Fight, Mutant Storm Reloaded, and Yosumin Live. So an interesting lineup of additions.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know if I know anything about any of those, honestly.
I apparently only have 2 of them, and the one, Deadfall Adventures, was actually announced it's going to be part of the Games with Gold lineup for November. So in November, Xbox owners are going to be getting Trackmania Turbo and Tales from the Borderlands Season 1 for Xbox One, and then Deadfall Adventures and Nights into Dreams on the 360.
Huh.
Solid lineup, I think. Good month.
Yeah.
I think Deadfall Adventures, that's one that I never thought we would see, let alone like playable on the Xbox One, but I never thought it would be free as part of Games with Gold. Like that one just, why?
Huh.
And I say this as someone who owns the collector edition of the original game. It's just one I never thought would happen, but hey, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, it was an interesting choice, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. Hey, the more games, the better, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the last bit of news I have for the week is shocking the world. Microsoft has ceased production of the Kinect.
Yeah, I know. It's like it was just about to hit its peak, I think. So
surprising news for everyone. The peripheral that they have ignored and dropped like a bad habit is no longer being made.
So what is the Kinect?
The Kinect was it's like a motion and voice control device.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
It was originally on the 360, and then they had a more powerful and enhanced version on the Xbox One that was packaged in with the system because, the Kinect was going to dominate your living room. And I bought into it. I still love my Kinect. I use it all the time. The voice commands are fantastic. I hate the fact that Microsoft has been removing functionality. It seems like every time they do a new update, they remove more functionality of the thing. At this point, I'm happy it could still turn my system on and off.
Huh. Well, it's a really cool idea, but yeah, it's too bad that it got neglected the way it did.
Yeah, it's a bummer. What are you gonna do?
I don't know anything about any of the stuff you're talking about because I use my Xbox just for Netflix. That's it. And 0 games.
That means you own an Xbox?
Well, kind of by accident because my older brother had an Xbox and I sort of inherited it. My brother found this insane deal in the city where a jewelry store was offering free Xbox Ones if you spent a certain amount of money.
What?
So he got his wife an anniversary present or something and just got a free Xbox and then gave me one.
Oh wow.
The only thing that's on there is I downloaded the old Rare games so that I could play Banjo-Kazooie and Battletoads.
Nice.
But I haven't even done that yet.
Yeah, I love Rare Replay.
I use it as a DVD player and Netflix.
Hey, whatever works, man. I know that's what my wife uses it for the most. Just it's her Netflix machine.
Yeah.
But
and it gets HBO Go and stuff. It gets everything that I need. It's awesome.
Yeah, tons of apps in there. I miss the Snap functionality. I really do. I know they removed it. Snap used to be a thing where you can have one thing going on a main screen and then they would have a sidebar with something else going on. So I would use it a lot to play a game, then have football games running on the side. And they removed that to enhance performance of the console. I'd give anything to get that feature back. I loved Snap so much.
Yeah, that's so weird because, my friend who has an Xbox One, he uses, or I guess he used that all the time. It's a bummer that they would take something like that out. It's a really cool feature.
Especially for when it launched, it was like such a big selling point for the system. Do two things at once. Watch Netflix and play a game at the same time, which I would love to do that. I want to back so bad.
I have a friend that just has 2 TVs in the living room.
I'm so tempted to do that. I really am. DarkMika in the chat. I love Snap 2. What they replaced it with sucks dick. They didn't replace it with anything. There's nothing new. There was rumors that they might add some kind of like picture-in-picture edition, which even that would be okay. It would suck that, part of it covers what you're trying to do, but just give us something. I miss having a multitasking machine again. Fucking love that. Something else that they're asking about in the chat that I'm seeing is if we've picked our SMLoween, our SMLoween winner yet, which we have not, and I think it might be a good time to go into our contests for the week. Are you guys down to hear some contest entries and pick a winner?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, before you get into that, I need to interrupt for 1 second.
What you got?
Comments?
Huh?
There's comments going on throughout all this?
Yeah, I have a chat room. I'm live streaming.
I've been just staring at the Skype screen this whole time. I didn't realize there's comments. What are people saying?
I mean, I tagged you on Twitter for our Mixer page. I tagged both of you, actually.
Well, shit. Why don't I open up Twitter and see what's going on?
Yeah, we're streaming. We are live on Mixer. Unless you're hearing the MP3 of this, then we were live on Mixer and you missed it.
Oh, man.
But all month long, we've been hyping up our SMLoween contest with like 30 some games included, over $500 of value. It's an insane prize package. And we're going to have one lucky winner, but I'm going to do my other contest first just to drag this out and piss everyone off. The other contest that we have going this week was we asked you on Twitter to tell us about your favorite pinball table to have a shot at winning the Stern Pinball Arcade Table Pack 2, which includes the brand new Ghostbusters table. And we had 3 people email in, and let's check out what they said. First one was from Francesco Doral, who says, favorite pinball table is the one you find in Duke Nukem Forever. It plays well, and it's more fun than the actual game. But then again, it's the whiteboard with crayon in one of the earlier levels is also better than the actual game.
I've got bowls of steel.
Next email is from John Harvey, who says, I'd like a Stern Pinball Arcade Pack, please. My favorite pinball is the one I've never played or ever seen in real life. I've only heard about it and saw it in videos, so I'm not sure if it qualifies or not, but here it is anyway. It was made by Williams Electronics just before they shut down in the late 90s. It's called Pinball 2000 and is a pinball computer game hybrid. It was designed to allow easy changing of themes. They'd be able to reuse the same system as new games were released. It also has a holographic part that created different tables. These could be customized depending on the game, but unfortunately only 2 games were ever released. Star Wars The Phantom Menace and Revenge from Mars. I think I saw Revenge from Mars, actually. Huh. I think the one arcade I went to had that table. Star Wars is supposedly the weaker of the pair, but they both look very cool. The holograph seems to be used to great effect in Revenge from Mars. The display shows all kinds of story parts as you go. Firstly, you have to use your ball to hit the holographic White House, which then shoots missiles at the UFOs attacking at the top of the screen.
Nice.
Other times, you're destroying the invaders as they land or using your ball to activate an anti-aircraft cannon to blow them out of the sky. Star Wars also looks good, but one of the first levels is called Trip Jar Jar, which is a hologram of Jar Jar Binks juggles fruit and crap while you try to trip him. Oh my god, that sounds incredible.
Yeah, I mean, any chance to injure Jar Jar Binks is okay by me.
Fuck you, Jar Jar. Now, don't get me wrong, hitting that stupid annoyance with high-speed metal ball sounds fun, but remember the game also has amazing sound effects. There's only so long you could go hearing that fucking voice before you would go mad and destroy something. You also get to join other stupid annoyance, Little Anakin, helping him destroy droids as he fights his way through a space battle. Later, you hit astromech droids to motivate them into repairing the ship, help Padme fight off probe droid attacks, and eventually join Qui-Gon as he has a lightsaber duel with Darth Maul. Both games also show video cutscenes between levels that give a little bit of plot to the ball throwing, as well as providing atmosphere and the usual flashing scores that we all love. Still looks good today, at least from what I've seen. but it must have been amazing to play back in 99. Hopefully I'll get to try it sometime. Haven't seen a pinball machine quite like it. I'm sure this was sort of a last hurrah for the engineers before they shut down, leaving Stern as the only major pinball maker in the world, at least for a little while. It's a little bit of a tangent, but here's the only pinball joke I know. What do pinball machines and a seal have in common?
I don't know.
Anybody? Both have flippers, juggle balls, and make a lot of noise, and are an absolute fucker to get into the back of a van at 3 a.m. Thank you, and good luck to everyone else. Thanks, John, you goddamn psycho. And then our third email for the pinball pack is from Latino Heat, who I believe is still hanging out in the chat. I saw him earlier. It says, good evening to SML Podcast. First and foremost, I must thank SML for bringing awareness to the great world of Pinball Arcade to us viewers. I was amazed at how much fun Pinball Arcade is on the Xbox One. My favorite table has to be from Stern Pinball Arcade, which is called High Roller Casino. Me being a gambler, I found this table to be plain at first glance, but it has a lot of hidden modes and scoring opportunities that gamblers love. This game features poker, blackjack, slot machines, craps, and even roulette packaged and crammed into one pinball table of test your gambling luck. Table is highly addictive if you're a gambler like me, but also features an impressive virtual pinball table a gambler could only love. And the best part, you're a winner because in this table, no money is lost. Thanks so much to SML. Good news for all three of you. We have 3 codes, 3 emails. You're all getting the pinball pack. So that was an easy contest, huh?
Nice.
And now the hard contest, because SMLoween had a pretty decent turnout. We have 19 emails to go through.
Oh, wow.
So if anybody needs to grab a drink, you guys down to helping me pick a winner, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Rod.
So, earlier this month and all through the month, I've been asking you guys on Twitter to email us the worst nightmare you have ever had. Like, I wanted it to be something good. Nothing like, ooh, I was falling and I woke. Like, it had to be something crazy. I haven't read any of these emails yet, but you guys might want to get a notepad to keep notes on who said what, and let's see who had the worst nightmare ever. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
First email from Daniel McCammon, who says, my worst nightmare in recent memory would have to be my recurring death spree. I've had this nightmare that comes and goes sporadically. I wake up like any other day, get ready for work. On my way to work, I get a call that my mother's had a heart attack, and this one was fatal. I immediately call my office and tell them I'm headed out of town to be with my family. On my way, my wife catches up with me, but there's an accident on the freeway. A large truck jumps lanes and plows into her car. I stop and go to check on her, but she's already gone too. I close my eyes to cry, and time flashes to me planning her funeral while my siblings are planning my mother's. I call them to make sure it's not on the same day, but a police officer answers the phone. I tell him who I am, and he informs me that my siblings were checking out caskets for my mother when a grieving husband walks into the funeral that also sells caskets and guns everyone down inside. At this point, I'm a literal mess. I'm afraid to leave the house or use the phone. I don't know who I'm going to see die next or hear about dying on the phone. My dad comes over to check on me. He doesn't seem as affected by what is going on, but he was never very emotional, so I let it go. We talk for a few hours about these tragic events. He finally convinces me to leave the house and take a drive with him. On the way to the car, I trip on my fucking shoelace. As I throw my arms out to catch myself, I bump into my dad, and he falls down the stairs, hitting his head on the concrete, dead. Finally, I've had enough. I just start running. I don't know where I'm going, but I know I need to get away from all this death. As I'm running, I hear a horn honk and turn around. Just 2 cars passing that apparently knew each other. When I turn back around, there's a car 2 inches from me. I jerk myself awake. I'm in full sweat mode and shaking. It's the worst recurring dream I've ever encountered. It's always so real. Well, maybe something positive can come from all those sweaty sleep sessions, and I'll add a buttload of games to my collection. Happy SMLoween. Holy shit, we're starting off strong.
That's
like
I might be having some nightmares myself tonight if there's 18 more of those. I don't know.
We'll see. That's a hell of a start. That's for sure.
That's an intense one, yeah.
I thought it was more like I had a dream where the hamburger was eating me kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Oh no,
kidding.
that's what I wanted to avoid. I wanted shit that was going to like fuck us up. For it's Halloween, so we got to get creepy with it, right?
Yeah.
Next email from Oroto Tomato, who says, worst nightmare. Now, that's a question I never wanted to answer. I had a couple of nightmares that for some reason keep coming back from time to time. Not as often in recent years, but definitely in the past. You don't know what it is to fear for your life as you're running through a swamp in the middle of the night with no light sources other than the moon itself, seeing a little barn in the distance, trying to get there as your feet keeps getting slowed down by all the mud, with hungry wolves roaring behind you closer and closer. But that's not even the one I feared the most. That one just makes me wake up feeling cold and sweaty. The real motherfucker is this one. I'm at school. A feeling of deja vu gets a hold of me. Don't know why, but it feels bad. I see the teacher running in. She's carrying her dead baby and crying while smoking a cigarette. Totally know what this comes from, as I did have a teacher who lost her baby due to excessive smoking during pregnancy. She starts vomiting. All the kids start screaming. The baby melts and becomes a puddle in the floor, mixing with the vomit. The teacher starts screaming. Everyone is running out of the class except for me. There's a mirror in the doorway. Everyone is gone. It's just me and the puddle on the floor. I see myself in the puddle in the mirror. I get up. I start talking to the mirror. I lose my breath. It's my dad. He's choking me, saying what a failure I am, saying he doesn't approve of my sexual orientation, saying he wished I died the day when I was a kid and fell in the pool without anyone around to save me and not knowing how to swim. My dad saved me that day when we still talked, when he still liked me. I hear whispers as the dream ends. I can never make out what the whispers are saying. I had this dream many times. Sometimes I wake up and realize I peed in my bed, or I wake up feeling ill. Sometimes I don't want to leave the bed, and even the most pretty day won't cheer me up. It'll always be 24 hours of suffering if I have that dream. The reasons why I haven't experienced that dream in a while might have to do with the fact that I finally accepted myself as I am and stopped guilt tripping myself and thinking about who I owe apologies to or don't. Anyway, thank you for making remember that one, you assholes.
Well, geez, I'm glad you're able to work through some of that. That's yeah.
Man, how do you sum that up? Melting baby.
Teacher carrying dead baby, vomiting, kids screaming,
Dad
baby melts, dad choking me, yelling about how he wished I was dead. Like that's what I wrote. But
man, these are heavy.
yeah.
Next email from Nathan Ashton, who says, just want to start by saying love your podcast and thanks for the chance at this awesome contest. So, worst nightmare ever. I will never, ever forget it to this day. Last year on a trip we take with family and me and my wife every year to Hocking Hills in southern Ohio, usually in the late fall. We all sleep in the same cabin, 2 floors, middle of nowhere, little to no cell reception, and the closest neighbor was about a quarter to a half mile away. Lovely. After a long day of hiking trails, checking out some sweet caves, we head back to the cabin for the night. Drink a few drinks, play some card games, and shoot the shit until we all decide to hit the hay. Wife and I stayed up a bit later than everyone else to chill by the fire and drink some more, then head to bed. We crash after everyone is fast asleep. I wake up hearing voices and shouts outside our cabin. I decide to slowly get up, without trying to make too much noise, and head to a window so I could see what I was hearing. I look out our small window and see what at the time was a small fire. Not thinking anything of it, I decide to get decent and go outside, thinking it was some of my family having a small fire. Open the door, walk down to said fire. As I approach, I see some people laying on the ground. Get close enough to see and discover my parents laying there dead. My dad was beheaded and my mom was disemboweled. I stood there in shock, numb. At this point, I see enough to see what it was and I'm getting mixed up. Get close enough to see something moving in the dark. Not exactly sure what it was, but I heard something sort of talking coming from the area. Not sure if it was a chant of some sort or just the thing talking to itself. I decide to turn back towards our cabin. At that moment, I heard screams coming from within the cabin now. Rush in to see my sister with 2 knives going through her eyes out the back of her skull. Rush to my room to find my wife's throat slit and splitting and spilling blood all over, looking me dead in the eyes as she takes her last breath. I turn around only to be knocked down by 3 dark figures and dragged to the dining room, getting tied to a chair. Those 3 dark figures, each with a steak knife, heated their knives and proceeded to stab me over and over all over my body. Being tied to the chair, there was nothing I could do besides slowly die of blood loss while these 3 figures did their deed. After what seemed like a lifetime, they kicked my chair over and began to cut at my neck in an attempt to behead me. I remember feeling it. I remember living it. I remember feeling helpless, screwed, and scared to death. I woke up shaking, drenched in sweat, wet boxers, shouting, which woke up my wife, wondering what the fuck was wrong. The rest of the night, I just laid in bed until the sun came up. I never had such a realistic nightmare like that before. Never woke up shouting or soaked. Hands down, felt too fucking real. I can honestly say to this day that I can still recall that nightmare and will never again rent that cabin. Wow. So I'm just putting Cabin Massacre. That seems like a good way to sum that one up. Damn. These are some crazy entries. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Next email is from Brandon Wicks, who says, unfortunately, my entry for this contest is hard due to the fact that I can't remember many dreams I have. I know that I do dream, but I just can't remember anything ever. My scariest dream that still messes with my mind to this day, though, is waking up one morning suddenly and really early, like 5 a.m. My wife was sleeping next to me. I remember looking at her and straight up elbowing her in the forehead. What? Then rolling over to go back to sleep. Of course, this woke her up and she asked what I did. I honestly have no idea why I did it or what prompted me to do it. All I remember is vividly wanting to elbow in her head. This is really scary to me because I'm truly worried I may do something like this again. Of course, I felt terrible about it, but it's just weird I would even think about doing that. I'm glad we had a lighter one for a second.
Yeah. I wonder what might have triggered that.
Maybe he just really wants to elbow his wife in the fucking head.
Yeah.
Honey, what? Oh, sorry. Just really need to get that.
All right.
Need to get that on my system. Love you. Good night. Next email from Leon Claymore, who says, worst nightmare was when oh, Jesus Christ. Worst nightmare was when I first Googled what a prolapsed anus was.
Oh, right. This is a great start.
That same night, I dreamt I had a prolapsed anus. The veins started growing thicker and thicker until they popped, and I was bleeding all over the place. I told my mom, screaming, and she took me to the hospital where the doctor grabbed the prolapse with his hand, saying 5 centimeters will have to cut. So we grabbed a knife and started cutting it. The noise the flesh made when it hit the table in front of me, squishy. Some of the blood splattered on my face. After he was done, he told me he couldn't fix it, so now I can't eat any solids, only liquids. That guy was just a nightmare, but lesson learned, I never used extreme force in the bathroom again. So, prolapsed
just gotta let it come out naturally, yeah.
Louie, are you happy you joined the show?
This is, like, insane. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I have no comment for any of these.
Next email from John Powers. Hello. So after thinking about it for a bit, I thought of the worst nightmare I've ever had. It's not really a scary nightmare per se, but I think it's my worst. So my grandpa passed away a few years ago from lung cancer. I was pretty close with him, so it was rough for me since I hadn't had a family member I was close to pass like that. Especially rough for me, being with him basically struggled towards the end. Now, sometime later after he passed, I had a dream where me and my family were visiting him in the hospital. Remember the moment I stepped into the hospital, I felt horrible. I could barely walk and I had trouble breathing, just all kinds of issues. Essentially, it was like I got his cancer the moment I entered. All I remember after that, I continued to head my way to where he was, staying at the hospital, but was such a long, painful struggle. Eventually, I got to him and he looked at me and smiled, and I woke up happy that I could breathe again and very sad. That's about it. Hope it wasn't too long. So, cancer patient grandfather? Seems like a good summary, I guess.
Yeah. I like that they kept it succinct.
Indeed. I've had some long ones here.
Yeah, for sure.
Throat's starting to get dry. I need to take a drink. That's better. Next email is from Greg Middleton, who says, hello, the worst nightmare I've ever had was where I come home from school and upon opening my front door, I could hear screaming from upstairs. I ran up as quickly as possible and the screaming was coming from my parents' bedroom. I opened the door and see my mom and dad are stood in the middle of the room covered from head to toe in leeches. All over their face, hands coming out of their mouths. I couldn't move. I was unable to help them. I was screaming and no sound could be heard. Horrible nightmare, which I had many times when I was younger. Leeches on parents.
Yeah. The ones you have when you're a kid are like, they're so real.
They stick with you, man.
Yeah. I have a parental leech bath for that one.
Oh, Jesus. This next one is huge. Next one from DarkMika in the chat. So thanks for writing a novel. Scary nightmares. I have two. One that has woke me up screaming and crying many a time, even into my adult life, which when thinking on, isn't really that scary, but is a disjointed mess of a dream which makes little to no sense. The other is really scary to me, and I had mostly in my single digits. They were gone soon into my early teens, but I also had it with sleep paralysis. We'll start with the really scary one, then move on to the disjointed mess. That way, if you only want to read one, you can ignore the second lesser one. What do you guys think? Should I just read the first?
We got a lot of entries to get through here. Maybe just the first.
Yeah, I'll just go with the first then. This is a mixture of a nightmare and a night terror. Every time I had this nightmare, I woke up with the sleep paralysis. I enter a house and I start walking around in it. It's like I own the house. I don't know the house. I walk into the kitchen and there's a corpse just sitting there. It has no lower half. It's just the upper half. It's bloody and cut up. It's not laying there. It's sitting on the floor straight up. I freeze and it turns around. It's missing one of its eyes, more than just the eye. A whole chunk around the eye is gone too. It's oozing something. It's naked, but not clear distinction on what sex it is. It only has fragments of brown hair. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't make any noises. Its arms reach out to the ground and it starts running on them. Its body bouncing around as it hits the floor. It sounds squishy and gross. It's running at me like a spider, even though it only has arms. It doesn't seem to have any problem moving up the stairs. Moving and quickly. I run around trying to escape it, eventually getting to the stairs. I decide it can't follow me up them. It has no legs. Again, I was a kid, i.e. stupid. This logic makes sense back then. Turns out my logic that age, like in real life, wasn't correct. It started moving up the stairs, chasing me too. I run down the hall to the very end. All the doors are open. Bedrooms, closets. At the very end is a bathroom. I shut the door behind me. The bathroom is white tile floors and walls, white clawfoot tub, white toilet, white everything, like a sterile room. Everything's disorientating. I can't talk because everything is blinding. It's like everything is made out of lights. I'm confused as to which direction I'm facing or what I'm looking at, but as I manage to get it to the closet, I hide inside it. It's pitch black and I'm terrified. The bathroom door slams open. I hear the corpse moving around outside, squishing and oozing. It can't find me. Maybe it's confused thanks to how white and shiny everything is in the bathroom. I lean forward, closer to the door, hoping it leaves. I'm grabbed from behind by my throat, my mouth, my arms, all grabbed, but I can't see anything. I'm yanked backwards and it hurts. Then I'd wake up every time it was with the sleep paralysis. I always sat there. I always saw it there looking at me and I can't move. When I finally could move again, I'd start screaming until my mom burst into the room, which usually freaked me out even more because I couldn't figure out who she was, which just made me panic even more. Even remembering this one is making me tear up. She'd have to sit there for hours trying to help me calm down. My mom's a single parent, and after one of these episodes, I always refused to leave her side. I made her carry me half the time because I didn't want to be on the floor where it could get me, so no school for me or work for her. As I got older, obviously she couldn't lift me or carry me around, but I wouldn't leave the bed. I had nightlights for years because of this, not that it helped. Later on, when I was 11 or 12, my family's friend moved. My mom helped them move by packing stuff into her old blue shitty Firebird and drove down with them to help them get stuff to their house and to help unpack. A little wordy there.
Yeah.
Their new house was the one from my nightmare. Oh, shit. I wouldn't leave the car even once. I stopped being friends with the boy. And James, if you're somehow hearing this, I'm sorry, but fuck your parents' house. I never visited again. Also, thanks to this, even to this day, pushing 30 years old, I can't sleep in a room that has an open closet, nor will I enter a closet that's dark. I have photophobia. My eyes can't handle a lot of light, so I'm used to the dark. I see real good in the dark. I refuse to enter a closet, even though I can easily see what's in it, even if it's completely empty. Thankfully, I stopped having that nightmare. I haven't had it in more than a decade now. Stopped having it a year or two after I saw the house when his family moved. I rarely have sleep paralysis either, so life is better. Man, the fact that, like, the family friends moved and that house was the house from the nightmare.
That is unreal.
Fuck that.
I'd be like, yeah, I'm done with everything. Just
Oh,
wow,
man. There's some freaky fucking entries. Next email is from Latino Heat once again, who says, "Good evening, the SML podcast. Growing up, I had many challenges and fears I had to face and overcome. My dad loved watching horror movies all the time, which led to me have real-life nightmares to encounter due to me being around horror, and hearing the eerie sounds on a constant basis brought on some real-life nightmares I had to face when it was time for my bedtime. I started having nightmares of a 7-foot demon with red eyes, muscular body, and 2 horns to match his spiked body. This entity would chase me in my dreams and was trying to take me into a dark hole. I would run for my dear life of being grabbed by this demon and never to be seen again. I would wake up screaming, kicking, and punching at the demon in my dreams, fighting for my dear life. At times, my dad would grab his gun, thinking it was an intruder trying to kidnap me. This became an ongoing nightmare with this demon creature gunning for my life inside my dreams. My parents took me to a psychiatrist, but nothing would stop me from dreaming and walking into the same dark abyss and have this 7-foot demon pop out of the dark hole. This dream continued for over a year. I was desperate to put a stop to this madness. I went to church, which I frequently went on Sunday, and asked to speak to the pastor of the church. His advice was to pray and be brave and confront your fears. By you doing this, the demon will be defeated. I went home that night feeling powerful and confident. When it was time for bedtime, once asleep, I wound up in a different place, which was dark and widely spread out. But this time I felt fearless. Sure enough, about a block length long pops up. What the hell? Sure enough, about a block length long pops up this huge 7-foot demon. I don't know what the hell that's supposed to be. Sure enough, the demon pops up, running towards me, growling. I then started running towards him at full force with a sword in my hand, and I said, "I fear you no more. I will destroy you." As we both were going to collide head on, I was awoken by my parents. I was bleeding through my nose as I was swinging my arms in the bed as if I was striking the demon. Right after that, my nightmares stopped happening the very next day. I slept and had no more. Many thanks to the SML podcast for allowing me to share my real-life trauma. 7-foot demon.
Well, congratulations on slaying it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Next email from Billy P, who says, "This is more of a common theme to my nightmares, and some may not consider it to be as scary or as spooky monsters or demonic children, but I frequently have nightmares of someone trying to break in. The events of the nightmare vary. Sometimes the break-in is successful. Sometimes I wake up in time to stop it. Other times I sleep through and wake up finding stuff missing, collectibles, important documents, even my cat." No, not the kitty. The person breaking in is never someone familiar, but it almost feels like this person could exist, and maybe one day I'd see someone walking down the street that might match the look. Although it's not a single nightmare, it's what sticks with me the most, something that occasionally wakes me up in the middle of the night, something I think about quite a lot after I've had one of these nightmares. Like, what could I do, how I may react, what the person breaking in wants, whether it's to cause some harm to me or my family, or they're just looking for something to steal and make some money. I even got into the habit of making sure the front door is locked almost every time I pass it. It's kind of silly because I do feel safe in my home, but the nightmares can feel so real sometimes that I do wake up a little uncomfortable. So break-ins.
Yeah. Who's break-ins?
So what do you guys think so far?
Man, I got a lot to think about. I'm trying to remember like stuff that I've experienced as well, like nightmares that I've had, and I'm not really coming up with anything. I might have to write some things down, but well, there's some intense shit in here for sure.
Louie, any thoughts from you so far?
These are too much for me. Yeah.
Louie's just thinking, what the fuck did I get into tonight? Next email's from John Harvey, who says, "Hey everyone, happy SMLoween. I very rarely remember my dreams, but your kitten euthanasia nightmare reminded me of a recurring bad dream I had a few times when I was around 7 or 8 years old. It would always take place in a kitchen, sometimes my home kitchen, sometimes my grandmother's kitchen, but mostly it was a weird I can't say that word.
Amalgamation?
Yeah, but it's just amalgam.
Amalgam.
Shouldn't it be amalgamation?
Oh, probably.
Of my home kitchen and something from a dark fairy tale. Whatever. I'd be sitting at a large wooden kitchen table with my gran, working on a meat pie baking in the oven. A clock would be on the wall make a loud cuckoo, and my gran would say, "It's your dinner time, sonny. Go get the pie." which was weird because I was never allowed anywhere near the oven at that age, but Dream Gran didn't give a shit. As I got closer, I started to hear weird noises and scratches coming from inside of the oven, and as I pulled the door open, a wave of black smoke came rushing out. As I would try to peer inside, my Gran suddenly went nuts, whirling around the room, screeching like a banshee, jumping, shrieking, and cackling, pulling at her hair, kind of giving off a vibe like the witch from Hansel and Gretel. She was acting like terrifying me was fun. "Get your din-dins, little man. Yummy, yummy," she would scream, and then begin to laugh maniacally. I'm sorry, that's hilarious.
That's pretty great, actually.
I was waving my hands in front of me, trying to clear the air, and as I did, it dawned on me what was there. Through the acrid smoke, I looked inside and saw my tiny little pet kitten, all blackened and burnt, curled up on the bottom shelf. Poor little thing had been roasted almost to death, but it still managed to let out a pitiful little meow.
Oh, that's the worst part of all.
No. I'd always wake up then absolutely terrified. I mean, I was only young when it started. It did happen a few times and lasted for a week or so. I was pretty sure that it was directly inspired by something that actually happened to my gran when she was young. She was part of the land girls during World War II and was working in a big farmhouse with loads of other girls doing various farm labor type jobs. And had a huge old kitchen with one of those ye old style cast iron ranges. The kind that's an oven, hob, and grill, but also provides heating for the full house. The farmer's wife asked my gran to get something out of the oven for everyone's lunch. As she opened the door, though, she said that she couldn't see anything but thick black smoke and immediately smelled lots of burnt hair instead. Turns out that while the oven had been on low to heat the house, one of the farmhouse kittens climbed inside to take advantage of the heat. Aw, my gran gave the young me a rather vivid description of what the kitten looked like, and after being roasted alive for an hour. I think the part that stuck with me the most and the part that gave me nightmares was her description of its eyes, her explaining how they had burst open and were dropping down onto its cheeks. It's seriously one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever heard. That story ended up terrifying the absolute shit out of me. Oh my God, Siri, shut the fuck up. I wasn't talking to you. What the? The story ended up terrifying the absolute shit out of me. I have no idea why she told it to me, but felt so bad afterwards, especially when every time she started cooking, I started checking everywhere for our pet cat just to be sure. Thanks for the chance, Joe, and good luck to everyone. Hope all those amazing horror games don't end up traumatizing the winner too badly. Damn.
What was the name for that one?
John Harvey.
Okay.
Oh man.
All right, where are we at here?
Louie, are you still here?
Yeah, but I actually I think I'm gonna have to head out in a second.
Yeah,
no
I just
problem.
got your message. I feel bad that this has taken so long. I didn't realize some of these emails were going to be so huge.
I didn't realize that it was like a long thing like this.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
This was awesome. This was super fun.
I hope we scarred you sufficiently.
Yeah. Those stories are terrifying.
And we're not done yet either. But thank you for joining and listening to half of them. And I don't know. I hope we didn't ruin your night too much with these.
No, not at all. It's fun.
Oh, man. Well, thanks again for joining. Do you have any final words before you jump out?
I don't know.
He asks me that every time, and I never have anything to say. So
I guess follow me on social media so that you get updates about my music.
And where
Louie
can people
Aronowitz
follow
on
you?
Twitter. Yeah.
Oh, on I guess on the Twitters at Louie Aronowitz, on the Instagram at Louie Aronowitz. I don't know, wherever.
That's very complicated.
It's just my name.
Oh, sounds good. Links will be in the description of the show, by the way. So if you're looking to keep up to date with Louie, check those out. And Louie, thanks again for joining. Have yourself a good night, sir.
You too. Thank you, guys.
All right, take it easy.
Good night.
All right, Tom, you ready to keep going?
All right, yeah, let's dive back in.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. I might have to do shorter time windows for contests when I do big stuff like this. Next email is from Talos167, who says, my worst nightmare was when my parents decide to murder me in my sleep, but I survive and kill them. Then I had to outrun the police. They capture me, put me on trial for murder. Then I turned into a squid for some reason. Then I wake up in a hot sweat.
Well,
short and sweet.
Yeah, no kidding. That's a wild ride.
Murdered, not murdered, killed parents, became squid. Next one is from Jack, who says, first note, I'm pretty much an introvert, so here comes my worst nightmare I can remember. Me as a kid on my way to school with the bus. Arriving at a school, I realize I have to do a number 2, but the school is closed from some water leakage. School came off that day, and the strain is picking up fast. Too fast. I literally shit myself in front of my schoolmates, and they all began to laugh. Not really a nightmare to fear about for many, but for me, it was the worst. Damn.
Yeah, that's not something you ever want to have happen.
No, that's, never fun to shit yourself in front of others. Next email.
And I should know. I mean, that happens to me all the time, and it's always just a drag.
Does it? Like, why? Why do you keep doing it, Tom?
Oh, I don't know. Just, I can't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. Hashtag YOLO. Next email is from Van Fitch, who says, hey, SML podcast, the worst nightmare I ever had that I could remember was when I was 16. In the nightmare, my friend and I were arguing about something, and he started making the argument personal, trash-talking my existence. Got to the point that I clubbed him over the head with a wrench. Not realizing what I had done, I tried to hide him. While trying to hide him, I realized he was still alive, stating he would tell others what I've done, so I forcibly drowned him in a wash tub in the garage, wrapped him up in plastic, and put him under the crawl space of my parents' house. When I finally woke up in reality to get ready for school, I had a voicemail waiting for me on my parents' answering machine. Yeah, remember those? It was from his mother stating he didn't come home last night and asking if I knew his whereabouts. The whole time listening to every word she was saying, my heart started beating faster and faster and my mind started wandering. I worked up enough strength to drop my phone, run out to the outside of the house, and check the crawl space. Luckily for me, it was empty. Turns out he was just at his girlfriend's house overnight and didn't call them, but it was the worst nightmare I ever had. Damn. Missing friend thought he murdered him.
Jeez. Yeah, those ones that blend together the dream world and the reality are always like, that adds just like that little extra bit of realism to it. That's just like,
yeah.
Did I actually do that?
Next email from John Snow, who says, my most horrifying nightmare is nothing too complicated, but is recurring and always causes me to wake up in a cold sweat. I have legitimate fear of flying, and my recurring nightmare always revolves around me on a plane. A pilot somehow turned suicidal and basically nosedives the plane at 30,000 feet. There is nothing scarier to me than the beeping emergency alarms combined with the oxygen masks falling from the cabin ceiling. That feeling of your stomach turning always shows up. Oh yeah, and everyone is screaming. To me, this is as scary as nightmares get. Good luck with the contest and happy Halloween. Nosediving plane.
Mm-hmm.
Next is from Jack Ruckus, who says, that's a new name. I haven't seen that one before. Hello, this is very dark, at least it was to me and still is. It haunts me. In 2012, a lot had changed in my life. Well, whether this is nightmare was a result from what was unfolding in life for me or not, I do not know. The dream, a shortened version, I was kidnapped, almost something you'd see in the movies. A black van pulled up and 2 dude bros jumped out and forced me into the van. They cover my head with a cover and turn the radio up loud. They drive for maybe about 20 minutes. I'm taken into an industrial warehouse, but there's a makeshift medical room where I'm strapped down to a bed. After being beaten, cut, shocked, burnt, and completely broken down, I was given instructions if I wanted to live. Now in the dream, the torture was vivid, toned it down. The instructions that were given tore my heart out. I had to kill my mother, brother, and wife. These mysterious kidnapping devils had even fetched my loved ones and had them locked in individual cells. And there was one rule. I had to make the deaths slow and painful. Ooh.
Ugh.
I begged, pleaded, and offered my life, cried, and when I didn't immediately execute my family, they continued the torture on me. In the dream, it felt like forever, but at some point, I broke and agreed to follow the instructions if they would stop. I remember walking up to a table covered with an assortment of instruments to use, picking up a knife and trying to steel myself for what I had to do. I walked to the first cell with my brother. When the goons led me into the room, they put a barrel of a handgun to my brother's head and only say, "If you don't, we will." The facial expression on my brother in that moment of my dream absolutely destroys my heart. I start to walk up to my brother and I try to plead again. They warn that they'll shoot him in the head if I don't do it. After refusing to go through with it, the gun goes off. I wake up. I awoke so startled, bawling tears, crying so distraught that I felt the world had ended. For months, I would call my brother and mother daily to check their well-being. The dream had me scared so bad for a long time. Even to this day, it'll choke me up and get my anxiety amped. Well, thanks for reading, and here's to hoping that's messed up enough to win that amazing gaming giveaway.
Jeez.
Damn.
Yeah.
Tortured to murder family.
Yeah. And dude bros, no less.
Yeah, by dude bros. Thank you for pointing that out. I didn't want to forget that. Next is from Eternal Rage. Hey, Eternal. You finally got your entry in. Hanging out in chat. She says, "Hi guys, you want to hear some nightmare fodder, do you? I have to explain that when it comes to dreams, I have a really odd quirk. Before I go any further, no matter what I'm dreaming or having a nightmare about, the setting is always the same. It's always the little house I grew up in, for better or worse. Every detail is pristine, be it the front porch, the marigolds my mom always planted along the walkway, even her chickens will be in the yard." I just want to take a second to say, Eternal, I don't believe you that you've been around chickens. It's a bit too far-fetched. He's supposed to be grounded in reality. Remember how I said that's for better or worse? My craziest nightmare was just a few months ago. In the dream, I woke up to find myself in my childhood home, just like always. The sky was dark, with the reddish mist in the distance when I stepped out on the front porch. The aforementioned marigolds lining the walkway were nothing more than dried, dead stems poking up from the dirt. The chickens, I remember, were often corpses scattered around. In the front yard were 4 men with masks. 3 of them were standing next to a stake buried in the ground, like the ones you see in movies for burning witches, and holding lit torches. Each of my 3 daughters were tied to a stake, and the 4th man, standing off to the side, screamed at me repeatedly that I only had 30 seconds to choose which one to burn, which one would be shot, and which one to let live, or all 3 would be burned. Through all of this, my sister and my mother are in the house carrying on as if nothing is happening. Even though I was pounding on the window begging for their help, I can still hear my oldest daughter's screams in my head as I recall the nightmare. Have a great SMLoween show and good luck to everybody that entered. Forced to burn daughters.
Yeah.
Holy shit, Cole. Next one from Michael Brody, who says... Hi, I'm emailing this because I saw this on Twitter to email to enter. I love winning, but I haven't entered recently to give others a chance to win. I know I'm Joe's favorite, ha ha ha, aka laughing out loud, but I don't think I'll win today. I wish everyone great luck. Keep gaming. I know that I will love the prize very much if it's a game I play. What is the prize? I couldn't find the tweet. God damn it, Michael. No entry.
Oh, all right. Well, that makes that one easy.
Oh, man. And the final email from one of our favorites. Haven't heard from in a while. Tit Shits McGee. I'm kind of bummed.
Fantastic.
Kind of bummed Chris isn't here because Chris always loves when Tit Shits sends in something. He says, "What's up, cum stains? It's your boy Tit Shits here. I'll back up in this with another entry. And I do want to get serious a bit here. My worst nightmare happened years ago, and I actually still see a therapist to this day about it. When I was younger, I had a fever and was really hot. My dream had me wake up from my bed in a full sweat, and I looked around to see my house was on fire. Everything was burning. The furniture, the walls, the bed, the carpeting. But I somehow couldn't burn or feel any of the pain from it, so I just wandered around the house, exploring my home, seeing everything burning. As I got to my kitchen, my entire family was at the table, all on fire. They stared at me with flesh dripping from their bones, and they pointed to the door. I walked outside to the sight of the entire world burning, and I wake up. Call me Sandor Clegane, motherfucker, because fire scares the shit out of me." Oh, man.
All right.
So,
well,
to recap... Daniel had his death spree, Aroto had the melting baby and that the dad hated him, Nathan Ashton had the cabin massacre. Brandon Wicks elbowed his wife in the head. Leon had a prolapse stain. John Powers had the cancer patient grandfather. Greg Middleton's leeches-filled parents. DarkMika had the corpse attack in the closet in the fucked up stranger house. Latino had a 7-foot demon. Billy P had routine break-ins. John Harvey had the roasted kitten. Talos was murdered, then not murdered, and then killed his parents, and then became a squid. Jack shit himself at school. Van Fitch had a missing friend and thought he murdered him in the crawl space. Jon Snow had the nosediving plane. Jack Ruckus was tortured to murder his family by dude bros. Eternal Rage had to choose which daughter to burn, shoot, and let live. Michael didn't have an entry, and then Tit Shits had the world on fire and called himself Sandor Clegane. Holy shit, what a lineup.
Yeah, we got some contenders going on there.
Oh, man, all of this, and we have to pick one single winner to get everything. I mean, everyone else, you're still going to get some consolation prizes. Not sure what. We'll figure it out when I go through everything later on tonight. But we got to pick a winner, man. Do you have any favorites right off the bat?
Well, to me, like the one that, a lot of them stuck out to me, but Jack Ruckus with the tortured and being forced to, kill your family slowly and painfully. That's like the description of it was just like was so vivid, and I was thinking of my own family. So like, yeah, that was a huge one. There's that theme of being forced to do horrible things to your family that always like really unnerves me. Yeah. And also DarkMika, especially with like the family friend like moving into the house that echoed the nightmare house, and just like how surreal that is. So those are the two that I'm kind of narrowed it down to. And God, there are so many others, but those are the two but it has to be one. So yeah, I was eyeing up Daniel McCammons with the death spree, where like everybody he knew was dying somehow. I did enjoy DarkMika's. I thought that was crazy. The twist at the end where the parents had that house. Yeah. You couldn't make that up for a movie and people would believe it. So I thought it ended pretty strong too, with Tit Shits and just the world burning and his family flesh just dripping from the bones. Man, I'm kind of curious what the chat thinks. Does chat have any favorites out of the lot? And you can't pick your own, you fucking cheaters. They're saying drums are rolling. Man, so you were torn between Jack and DarkMika, right? Mm-hmm. Any others in there that you were a fan of? Or a Roto Tomato as well, with the whole, father and child dynamic and the melting baby. It was that was definitely a creepy one as well.
I agree. Damn. It seems like the one that we're both kind of in agreement on is DarkMika.
Yeah.
Because she was on your list, she's on my list. Could have been written a little bit better, but just that whole the whole ending of I found that house. It was the house from my dream. I think that might claim the victory. Your thoughts?
I'm down with that.
Well, DarkMika, congratulations. You are the winner of SMLoween. And you have some fucked up dreams. She just said, I liked mine, but I also like the cat one too.
Yeah. Oh, the cat one was another one. Yeah.
Yeah. The burning cat. Oh man. God,
especially because it actually happened. Just like,
She just said, wait, I won? Yeah, DarkMika, you just won the contest. We just announced that you won. So DarkMika, congrats. You are the winner of SMLoween. You'll be getting an email later on tonight with a shitload of games, and I'm sure Eternal's going to be harassing you for a couple of them too. There were some amazing entries. Congrats to everybody who entered. There was some truly, truly horrifying entries there. Much longer than I thought this segment of the show would be, but goddamn, I think it was worth it. That was a trip for sure.
That was a journey.
We should move on to reviews. Did you want to review Riskers, or do you just want to call it for now?
Oh man, I think I'm a little bit spent after that, honestly.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a quick musical break, and I'll be back with some other friends doing some reviews that I obviously recorded earlier today because I'm not in the mood to do any more reviews right now.
Okay.
So, Tom, thank you so much for joining, helping me pick a winner, and I hope you enjoy the nightmares you'll experience for the rest of your life.
Oh, I can't wait.
Do you have any final words since Louie didn't?
No, no.
All right, moving on. 2 games to talk about next. We are bringing in our good friend Tim Ekkebus. Tim, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Good, sir. Hello, sir.
Sir.
Ready and reporting to review, sir.
Attention.
Yeah, something. What the fuck? Okay. All right.
I guess it kind of leads into the first game you're here to talk about because there's like soldiers and guns and shit.
Yeah. Oh, we're talking about Volgarr first then?
No, first game to talk about is called The Mummy Demastered, developed and published by WayForward. It released October 24th on Xbox One, Switch, Steam, PS4 for $19.99. An elite monster hunting agent, you must use a variety of weapons, upgrades, and magical artifacts to defend mankind against the supernatural hordes of Princess Amenat. Amenat? Does it say
Amenat?
Amenat. Okay.
It doesn't. There's no voice acting in this game.
I don't know, and I didn't watch the movie. I heard it was terrible. But beware, Amenat commands legions of zombies, insects, plague-ridden vermin, and worse. And if you're not careful, you'll be the next soul in the thrall. Tim, I hear the game is significantly better than the movie was.
I can't speak to that having not seen the movie, but boy, does that what everybody says. That seems to be the way the wind is blowing. Oddly, it makes me want to see the movie. I know it's legit based on that Universal Mummy movie that stunk up the joint towards the beginning of summer.
Yeah. So how's the game?
The game, I can say, at least is a pretty darn good little Metroidvania type game. I don't know how many people remember Alien Infestation, which was like a DS. It was a DS game. Yeah, DS, not 3DS. So that means it's quite a while ago. Which was another random license they got a hold of. Not quite as random as the Mummy, just because there's been Alien games that they made like a cool little sort of Metroidvania style action game out of. And this, many years later at this point, is kind of that same thing, except instead of a reasonably good movie license, they have a bad movie license. it's like when I first saw the trailer for this game, I was just like, what? Like, what? Yeah, I was reading an interview with like the lead today about, like how good Universal was. They took their pitch to Universal, and Universal was very supportive, and they delayed the game to flesh it out more, so it didn't line up with the release of the movie, or the movie on DVD or Blu-ray at this point, I guess. They were just like, yeah, whatever, I guess. Just make your fucking game, nerds. Whatever. But, yeah, now here we are. It's a week before Halloween, so it's a good spooky time, I guess, to get a Mummy game out. And it's pretty darn good. As you can tell from just like watching a trailer, it looks great. Like, it's got really great sprite work, animation, backgrounds, pixel art, just up and down, all across the board. It's just a great looking game. I guess the guy who was like one of the leads on River City Ransom Underground did some work on this game.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
another game you have a lot of experience with.
Yes, absolutely. Another game with great freaking, 16-bit animation and sprites and such. So yeah, it looks great. It's got a great soundtrack as well.
Oh, I heard the soundtrack was phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really good. I don't know if it's really like music, like a soundtrack you're gonna buy. Like the boss battle track is really good, but it's like it just really fits the mood of the game so well. Like it has that good kind of creepy. It hews more Castlevania than Metroid, I would say. There is literally a clock tower in this later on, despite the fact that you're shooting. But yeah, so it's just like every area has a nice mood to it. It has a really cool setting, and that it's happening kind of around London. So you'll start out in the forest outside of London. You'll go through some caves. You'll end up going through like some catacombs below the city, some like old subway tracks. And then finally up, to some of the city streets, and presumably Big Ben, I guess, would be the clock tower you'd be climbing up. Why not? But it's just really good, really solid with its whole visual design, and yeah, everything. It sets a great tone all around. The gameplay is also pretty solid, if not. It's not really, exceptional. Like you have your gun. You start out with your regular machine gun. You'll quickly find like an assault rifle and a shotgun, which is terrible. But then there's other cooler weapons you find later on, like a flamethrower, which I had strapped to my hip from the moment I picked it up. I picked that sucker up. I'm like, oh yeah, yep, yes.
That is the only thing I'm using anymore.
Yeah. Well, you can carry two. You carry your basic gun, which has infinite ammo, and then any of the special guns you find, which have limited ammo, you can carry two of. So usually I was using kind of the heavier assault rifle along with the flamethrower for a good portion of the game. And then there's some better weapons you find later on that I was switching between trying out. And not unlike Axiom Verge last year, or 2 years ago, rather, there's like a ton of stuff you don't need to find in order to finish this game, which is something that I like. I like having just kind of fun optional stuff around. Like technically, I don't think you really need to pick up any of the extra guns to get through the game. You can just go through with your basic rifle, though I would certainly not recommend that.
Yeah, I mean, that's how a lot of Metroidvanias feel, where it ends up people have speedruns for low percent to get few items as possible.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there will be somebody going through just like, okay, you need to pick up the grenades and these movement abilities, and that's it.
Oh, man, do you think we'll see this at a GDQ soon?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, not a GDQ, because I think they've already sorted out the game schedule for that one, but probably SGDQ.
Oh,
maybe it's like a bonus game at AGDQ. Yeah, I am positive. Like, there's a special thanks to Games Done Quick in the credits of this game.
Nice.
Yeah, like yeah, absolutely. It'll be in a GDQ. Fucking yes.
I hear it's kind of difficult. Someone I was talking to was saying that they were getting their ass kicked a lot.
I'll get there, but yeah. So you got your weapons. You pick up some movement abilities. Like I said, there's some optional movement abilities too. Like one of the things this game has is when you get hit, you get knocked back like you're a Belmont, which can be fucking annoying sometimes. If you get knocked off a platform, you just go plummeting down a shaft and have to climb your way back up.
Nice.
But there is an item you can find that will stop that from happening. and that's great. Yeah, as far as there's like 5 bosses throughout the game. They all look pretty cool. I didn't think any of them were too tough. With the caveat, so here is what kind of makes this game a pain in the dick. So when you die, and this is pretty cool in concept, your character is then mummified and then like rises from the dead as a mummy, and you then take control of another agent of this, organization that you work for. So that first character you were, they're dead. They're gone. You don't play as them anymore. You pick up another agent, and then you have to go kill your former self to collect all your gear back.
That's interesting.
It is interesting, and it's a neat idea. But, so here's the thing, and here's what happened to me, is there was one boss battle in particular that was really giving me the shits. And I was having a lot of trouble with it, and I'd, go and I'd fucking die, and so then it's like, okay, I have to go kill my dude, and he's hanging right outside the boss room. So I kill him and get my weapons back, but you don't get any of your ammo back that you just used to fight the boss. And on this particular boss, like there are rooms that will refill your ammunition, but in this particular boss, that room was a ways away. So I had to slog back up to that room, refill my ammo, come back down.
And then die again?
Yeah, a few times. Because they're like refilling your life in this game is a pain in the ass. Because like in a Metroid or a Castlevania, because this actually has destructible environmental objects like you'd see in Castlevania, which drop items, and the enemies drop items. That's the only way to restore your health, short of finding like an energy tank. It's like a health pack. It's the same thing as an energy tank from Metroid.
Yeah.
You find an energy tank, it fills up your health all the way, and then it's full, and you're like, this is great. But there's like no room that you can find that will fill up all your health. You're solely reliant on energy drops from enemies. So there was, this one point of this boss where I'm like, what? I know I could just beat this goddamn thing if I had full health. So I'm sitting there and just grinding this room next door to the save point, just trying to get my health up. And then it's like, most of the enemies are dropping these little 5 health pickups. But then if I would hit like one enemy and take damage in the room, it would like wipe out all my progress. And unlike Metroid, which only drops things that you need, enemies in this game just drop things, whether you need them or not. So you could be full up on ammo, and you're still getting ammo for that gun. And it just seems like if they wanted to throw out a patch that just tweaked the drop rate of health, it would make the game much more pleasant overall to play. But for the most part, I didn't die much. Like, you have enough firepower, you have enough health. I found enough health packs that it wasn't really an issue. But God, that was a pain in the ass. And then on the last boss, like, there's no, like, unless I wanted to sit there and grind health, I was just going into the last boss with half health every time and just like, whatever, I'll figure it out. And I did. But, that sucks. That's a sucky thing. Because otherwise, it's a pretty darn good... it's not like an S-rank Metroidvania game like, Shadow Complex or, Symphony of the Night or Aria of Sorrow or, I don't know, Guacamelee, Axiom Verge, whatever you consider the top tier of Metroidvania. But it's a good, like, second tier Metroidvania type game that I think is certainly worth checking out.
Nice. How long was it? You said you beat the final boss.
Yeah, it was 5 hours on my playthrough. I can drop some stats on you because I took a picture for this very purpose.
Ooh, look at you being all prepared and 5
hours. I only found 80% of the items. I had 96% map discovery, so I was pretty close on that. But there were still like a fifth of the items I didn't find somehow. and apparently they're all in that 4% of the map I didn't explore somehow. So yeah, but it's probably about a 4 or 5 hour game, depending.
Sounds good. So for $20, what is your verdict on the Mummy Demastered?
I think that's probably a buy. I want to say I didn't experience this firsthand because I reviewed the PC version. I did read that there was some performance issues on the Switch, so perhaps beware if you are a Switch owner. But if you're looking for a good solid Metroidvania type game, this is a good purchase.
Sounds good. Do you mind if I do a quick one?
Yeah, no, I don't mind. Go on.
Cool. Next game to talk about is called Night Terrors, developed by FreakZone Games, published by Nicalis. It released October 24th on the Switch for $2.99. Witness the horrifying adventures of the Knight. Armed with a mighty sword and blood-red wings that allow flight, the Knight desperately races towards the countryside. He must face and vanquish a never-ending onslaught of unspeakable horrors while jumping over spike pits and flying through small gaps. If he takes 3 hits or allows 3 enemies to pass, it's game over. And that basically described the whole game for the most part. It plays a lot like an auto runner where, you'll be running down, you'll come to spike pits, or you'll have these little spiked pointy wall things that you have to jump and fly over, and it kind of takes a little element from Flappy Bird, and where you have to just hit the jump button a couple times to flutter in the air, and you just, enemies come at you, you kill them, you see obstacles, you jump over them or avoid them, and you go as long as you can. The further that you go, the more points you get, the longer that you can go without hitting anything. Every time you kill an enemy, it's worth more. So the first enemy you kill is 100, next one 200, 300, 400, until you get hit, and then it starts over, which sucks when you're trying to unlock some of the later things in the game, because there's multiple modes that you can go through. I forget the name of the second mode, but it pretty much gets rid of the floor, so it turns into pretty much all Flappy Bird, which I was not the biggest fan of that mode, because like all the controls are done with either, God, what the hell are the buttons on a Switch?
I got mine right here.
The 2 on the side, because I know they're the opposite of Xbox controllers. So Y and A.
No, there you go. Or wait, you mean X and A?
X and A?
On the side. Oh, the ones across from each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the left and right.
Yep. Yes, Y and A.
You could either use Y and A, you can use the left and right buttons on the quote-unquote D-pad thing, or you can use the bumpers and the triggers. One jumps, the other attacks. My problem was, like, I wanted to do everything with one thumb, so I wish everything was on, like, Y and B or B and A instead of Y and A and split apart. The most frustrating thing for me was I had to detach the 2 Joy-Cons and flip the one upside down.
Oh, God.
Just so that my left thumb was in a better position than right at the very edge of the Joy-Con and kind of cramped. Once I did that, though, I was doing pretty good. I think my high score, because after you beat the one, then it unlocks that floorless one that's just spikes on the ground, and then it unlocks an endless mode, and then it unlocks K-type, which is kind of like R-type, where it's basically the same as it's been, but now your character shoots like a little bullet as well, just to throw something else there. There's also a nightmare mode, which I did not unlock because I just haven't been that good. Minor gripes I have with the game. I wish once a game was over, they tally up your score and show you how well you did. I wish you could either skip through that or like hit a button to make it go faster so that you could just get back to the action again. I wish the buttons were remappable, like I already mentioned. And then for something visually so basic, because it's just pixel style visuals, the load times seem a little long for what the game is. Granted, I don't know anything about programming, so I don't know how intensive the game is. But just on the surface, visually, it doesn't seem like it should be that much loading for this game. Overall, though, I had a lot of fun with it. For $3, just buy it.
No. I know that. That's a fucking why not.
Actually, it was fun enough that it's just a straight up buy it. So $3, buy it. It's fun. It fits the Halloween spirit, and yeah, enjoy it. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Cool. Last game you're here to talk about is called Volgarr the Viking, developed and published by Crazy Viking Studios. This one finally hit the Switch October 5th for $9.99. Remember when games were tough? Return to the golden age of arcades with an all-new hardcore action experience that pulls no punches. Volgarr the Viking possesses all the hallmarks of the true classic: simple controls, high challenge, and meticulous design, combined with handmade pixel animation, an epic soundtrack, and buckets of blood. Flex your gaming muscles and step into the arena with Volgarr the Viking. We dare you. Tim, you were up to the challenge. What do you think?
Oh, God, fuck this game. It's so hard. Dude, I just found out they ported it to Dreamcast.
Really?
Yeah, apparently.
Holy shit.
They ported it. Yeah. Well, okay, so anyways, Volgarr the Viking. So if you somehow not heard or not familiar with this game, it is a few years old at this point. 2013 was its initial release date.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I know.
Damn.
Go freaking figure.
Well, it was on Dreamcast, so.
Yeah. Well, they only ported it to Dreamcast 2 years ago. Now here we are, 4 years later, and it is out on the Switch now. I played it on PC, I think, at the beginning of last year. Towards the beginning of last year, I think I did. So anyway, this game is fucking hard. It is not fucking around when they say, remember when video games were hard? Because, yeah, this game is hard. In a very, for me, a very good way, in a, like, Ghosts and Goblins sort of way. That's kind of my touchstone for it, because it has kind of a Ghouls and Ghosts type character progression, in that you're cracking open chests, and like first you get a metal shield, and then a helmet, and then the flaming sword, and then as you get hit, that stuff gets knocked back off of you,
which is soul crushing.
Yeah, you're just like, great, now I'm just a buff man with a sword, no shield,
and I'm
so
fucked.
So fucked. The game, there's 6 levels, which are basically divided into kind of 2 screens apiece, 2 levels, rather, I should say. Yeah, 6 worlds, 2 levels apiece. So there's like a 1-1, a 1-2. And there's a checkpoint at the beginning of each level. But if you were to quit out, you would start at the beginning of that world. So it's like, okay, if you start on 1-1, you need to make it to the beginning of 1-2. And then from the beginning of 1-2, you need to make it through the entire level and kill the boss, or else you go back to the beginning of 1-2. Which, it's just one of those things. You just got to sit there and figure out the level and memorize the patterns and know what to do when. You got to stay dialed into the game and have like decent instincts when like random shit happens, or you're just not gonna make it. The game, it does have a world select. As you complete worlds, you can then jump to any world that you've completed. However, it does reset your score and lock out the best ending if you start from a later level. Like, to get the best ending and have your score registered, you got to start from the beginning, play through the whole game.
Oh, man.
But only a maniac, not a maniac, but like, you're going to do that after you've played through and kind of beaten all the worlds individually and made your way through and kind of figured things out. Then that's the point at which you're going to start trying to make runs through to beat the whole game. Your character, you're this barbarian dude. You have your sword slash. You have a low roll, like a slide type move, I guess, except you're rolling. And you can throw spears, which is very important to keep in mind, that you do have a ranged attack. Like, it has a bit of a wind up because he's got to pull the spear back before he chucks it. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're just going to be whipping spears and that's your main attack, but it is something you need to keep in mind from taking out enemies at a distance. Sometimes spears will stick into walls, so you can climb up them. You can double jump, which is really important, and also makes me think back to good old Ghouls and Ghosts, or Super Ghouls and Ghosts, whenever they put in the double jump in that game. Because it's like one of those. It's like you jump and then you jump again. Like, your momentum doesn't carry between the jump. It just completely resets when you hit jump the second time. Important distinctions to be made. It looks the music in this game is just kind of there in the background, like it's nothing. It's kind of just thumpy, almost ambient, sort of just kind of hitting the mood. The graphics look really nice on the Switch. Like the sprites, the character models look really sharp. I had no slowdown to speak of or frame drops. It just played nice and smooth, and all the characters look nice and sharp. And it seems like a really good port of this game.
Nice. Sounds good. So for $10, what's your thoughts on this one?
Well, if you don't like hard games, you should stay the fuck away from Volgarr the Viking. If you like hard games, then this is if you're like a Dark Souls guy like me, if you want a challenge, then yeah, you should definitely check out Volgarr the Viking if you have not yet, because while it may only be 6 worlds, it's going to take you some time to master them, just like a good old game.
Here's not like fun fact.
Old games, like an old game that's good.
Here's a fun fact. I never knew there were 6 worlds because I haven't even been able to beat the first world.
I've made it to like 5.
Wow.
I think.
Yeah. I know I asked Chris if he would be interested in covering it a while back. A while ago, not a while back. And he was like, I would love to check it out. I love the game, but I'm bad at it. So I don't think I'd be the right person to to call on for that one.
Yeah, I was able to pick it up and get through the first world again pretty easily, and the second world wasn't too bad, and then I was just like, I don't remember anything anymore. But it's hard. It's a tough game.
Good stuff. Well, Tim, thank you as always for coming on and chatting games. I know you'll be back on again soon. Any final thoughts to sum it all up?
Nope. Volgarr, but you could call it Volgarr because of the things you're going to say.
All right, and finally tonight, we're going to end the show with our good friend Cole Martin coming in to talk about a couple of games. Cole, how are you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm tired, but I'm going to put on the chipper-sounding voice anyway.
You're tired because it's late at night, right?
Yeah, it's totally not 10 a.m.
You're here. You got a bunch of games to talk about, so let's just get right to it. The first one you're here to talk about is Life is Strange Before the Storm, Episode 2, developed by Deck 9, published by Square Enix. Episode 2 released October 19th on Xbox One, PS4, and Steam for $5.99, part of the Season Pass for $16.99. There's also the Deluxe Edition available with all 3 episodes, the bonus episode, some other fun goodies for $24.99. Life is Strange Before the Storm features Chloe Price's 16-year-old rebel who forms an unlikely friendship with Rachel Amber, a beautiful and popular girl destined for success. This is Episode 2 of the shenanigans, so let's just get right to it. Cole, what is this game?
This is, spoiler alert, there will be episode 1 spoilers, but I will keep it spoiler 2 for episode 3. What did I just say? Spoiler free for episode 2. Okay. I told you I'm not with it today. It was going to go downhill. I just didn't realize it was going to be that fast.
I'm happy about it.
I'm sure you are. Wait till we get YouTube comments on that one. So at the end of episode 1, we saw Chloe and Rachel. They skipped school for the day. Chloe's already in hot water, and it's only going to get worse from there. So now the consequences of the decisions that you made with Rachel and with the school are going to come back and either haunt you or help you, depending on how you behaved in episode 1, which is pretty typical for this type of game. This is what you expect to have happen.
Yeah.
If you've played the first Life is Strange, you will have already know that Chloe gets expelled from Blackwell. And now we find out how and why that comes to pass. So we see how that affects Chloe's relationships with Rachel and with her friends from the school, and as well as how it drives her other decisions and the situations that she finds herself in. We know from Life is Strange that Chloe owes Frank a substantial sum of money for her penchants for weed, and that also plays into the decisions that you are forced to make in episode 2. We again, like I said, spoiler warning for episode 1, we saw Rachel's father. The scene that played out at the park was Rachel's father and a woman who was definitely not her mother, and they were having a romantic moment at the park, which triggered Rachel to kick over a flaming trash barrel, starting the fire that is burning down Oregon during this time in the game. This runs parallel to the storm that we had in the first Life is Strange, where the more decisions that Max made, the more the storm got chaotic. And so we see that same kind of parallel with Rachel, but not on a supernatural level. There's a lot of fan theories that Rachel has some kind of supernatural ability, but it doesn't really come across to me that way. Mm-hmm. But you do see the parallel with the overarching idea that there's the ripple effect and everything affects everything else in the world. And so the decisions you make affect the world as that wildfire is burning in the background. And you continue to see the fire and how it's affecting Arcadia Bay while you're also continuing with your own storyline, if that makes sense.
So I know this is only a 3-episode series. Is there like an episode 2 lull here, or is this still pretty solid the whole way through?
I didn't feel the lull, and I was like, now I'm a little worried about episode 3 because there is going to be a 4th farewell episode. So I'm like, well, episode 4 can't suck if it's going to be the end. So episode 2 held out okay. Either there is not going to be an episode 4 lull, and we're just going to skip that by only having 4 episodes.
Maybe.
Or episode 3 is in danger.
How long was episode 2?
I want to say it was about an hour and a half-ish. Of course, I went around and found all there's the hidden, the optional graffiti. Couldn't think of the word for the life of me. The optional graffiti that you can go around and find. So I'm kind of one of those players that goes around and literally pokes at everything in the game just to see what I can aggravate. And so if you're doing all that, you can spend about an hour and a half of an hour 45 at it.
Nice.
So it's pretty standard fare for what you get for Life is Strange. I don't think it was too short or too long. That's the one thing that's been really good about this this little prequel is that the pacing for the story has been very good. You're never really at any point where you're like, okay, get it over with. Let's go. Next. Everything, because it's been condensed down to only have 3 episodes, everything propels the story forward in some way or another.
Yeah.
So it really paces itself well.
Cool. So for people who enjoyed the first game, I'd assume this is good to continue going on with?
Yeah, it's an easy buy. You should probably already just have the season pass at that point.
Quit fucking around, get the deluxe edition, get all the goodies.
Get it and enjoy it. Yeah. I will say there was the issue where the farewell episode had an achievement tied to it. That has been fixed now.
Oh, good.
I'm not sure how they went about fixing it, but I do know that when you load up the game with episode 2, it will say that the game has been updated and previous versions will no longer work. So you are forced to update whether you like it or not.
Nice. All right, next game to talk about is called Air Memories of Old, developed by Forgotten Key, published by Daedalic Entertainment. It released October 25th on Xbox One, PC, PS4 for $14.99. Transform into a bird and fly to explore and experience a vibrant world of floating islands in the sky. Venture down into lost ancient ruins where each step leads you closer to the end of the world. Cole, what is Air?
Spoiler alert. There's a spoiler alert right there in the... Okay.
Hey, that's just the description for the game. That can't be a spoiler.
I think anything that's at the end of the world as part of the story is probably kind of spoilerish.
It's the summary.
Air is incredibly atmospheric. It is narrative driven, but it is one of those games that even though it relies heavily on narrative, you have to seek that narrative. It doesn't just write it. You think of like narrative with What Remains of Edith Finch, where the writing is literally in the clouds. Mm-hmm. You don't have that with Air. You have to go looking for it. It's very exploration heavy. It is a world in the sky. It's not necessarily Earth. A world in the sky. At one point in history, this entire world was one piece, and then there was strife among the humans, and the creator was heartbroken and made a decision that resulted in the world breaking apart. So now it is all these floating islands in the clouds, and every so often, say once a generation, there is a person from the tribe that is chosen to go on a pilgrimage and learn the history of these people. And in doing so, we discover that our protagonist, who is an older teenage girl by the name of Auk, she has been chosen to go on the pilgrimage. She has been training for it. She is a shifter. She can change from a human to a bird and back again.
I'm like a bird. I fly away.
And so she does. She flies away. And so as Auk, you have the ability to explore this impressively vast world. You can change back and forth freely from a human to a bird. There are a few rules to this though, and that it's as simple as just pressing jump and then pressing A again to transform into the bird. But if in the bird form you touch the dirt or the underside of like any of these islands or whatever, you will convert back to a human as soon as you touch it. So you do have to be careful with where you are flying because you can fall.
I hear a lot of talk about like exploration stuff like that. Is this similar to games like Abzu and Journey, where it's just a lot of a walk exploration, I guess, and just a very narrative heavy experience? Or is there conflict to the game? There is conflict in the story, but there is no combat, if that makes sense. Because the forces that led to the Great Divide, that you are learning about, as you get closer to the end of the story, you discover they have come back. And not only are you chosen to go on the pilgrimage, but it becomes fairly evident pretty early on. It's not just your place to learn about it. It's your place, you're chosen to stop it from happening again. Gotcha.
So that you have to learn what steps were taken the first time around, and also change things so that the same thing that led to the Great Divide the first time doesn't lead to the islands breaking off more. Because at this point, it would lead to no more islands. There's so few and so small as it is that another rift like that would just completely destroy everything. As I said, it becomes pretty evident early on that that's Auk's role, because you start with Auk as she's exploring the temple of Kara, who was a pilgrim, a shifter who came before her and went on a pilgrimage. And it's said that Kara protected the people and that she had a lantern that shined every day until the day she died. And that everybody that goes to the temple prays for Kara's light to come back. Of course, when Auk goes, the lantern glows. So not only does the lantern glow, but she takes possession of the lantern and the temple crumbles around. And you have to escape the temple with the lantern. And so you use that lantern with Kara's light as your kind of guiding force when you have to explore these other temples that are in the ground. You can't, of course, you're touching dirt, you're in the ground, so you can't shift to a bird when you're in those temples exploring. You only have Kara's light. One neat thing about Kara's light, and I said, she is on the pilgrimage, she is learning about her history. In certain areas of the world, you will notice like this little, almost like a hieroglyph. And if you pass by with Auk and you have Kara's light turned on, this is just pressing X to turn the lantern on and off, you actually get glimpses into the past, and you will get little pieces of lore. You can see some of the conversations that occur between your ancestors as they tried to escape during the First Great Divide. So that is one really incredible way that the lore plays out, because you're never really given the full story, and you've got to just kind of piece it together and decide what you think happened.
Yeah.
Which is pretty realistic to how we actually, surmise history in a lot of ways. We go, oh, look, a hieroglyphic. I think it means this. and so in a way, it kind of plays out the same. You get so much information, but you don't get all the information.
Gotcha. Well, the game sounds fantastic. It looks beautiful. I got to know, for $15, what is your verdict?
This is a buy it. This is one of those, you mentioned Abzu and Journey, and I would even say a little bit of Rhyme, but not, I would say even with a little bit of Rhyme. I was trying to surmise, like, now I can't find the word for it. It
need
has
a
like
nap?
that puzzle aspect. I do need a nap. I need more than a nap. I need like 3 days off. It has more of that puzzle aspect, whereas the puzzles in Abzu weren't quite as prominent, if that makes sense. It was more the narrative than the puzzles. Whereas Air is definitely, when you're in those temples, it's very puzzle heavy. Although I would say if I had to complain about anything with it, it would be that when you're in the temple solving the puzzles, there's a lot of back and forth trying to activate switches, and there's no mini map for that part. There is a map for the overall world, but there's no map for inside the temples, and you get lost, and you can spend a lot of time walking back and forth just trying to find the right stairwell.
Well, maybe they could eventually add something like that into the game.
I would like to see that, but otherwise, it was a really incredible atmospheric, experience. I liked that when you were shifting back and forth between Auk and her bird form, the music changed. When you're Auk, it was just much more subdued and very, mellow, soft-spoken music. But when she switched to her bird form, the tempo of the music would rise, and also it would add a drum beat.
Nice.
So you knew you had done something when you switched to that bird form. Like you just immediately felt a change in how you approach the game.
Sounds good. Well, moving on, next game that we have to talk about is called The Inner World: The Last Wind Monk, developed by Studio Fizbin, published by Headup Games and Kalypso Media Digital. It released October 20th on Steam for $24.99, October 24th on Xbox and PS4 for $29.99. Retail version also available for $39.99 and includes the first game. You might remember that we talked about this game last week, but we were missing some significant details like the console pricing of the game. And now that the game is finally out on console and we have that information, I wanted to just go over the review one more time from DarkMika and give them a little bit more attention for that. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Cool. This is what she has to say. The Inner World: The Last Wind Monk is a point-and-click game and the second Inner World game. In the previous game, you could only control one character, that being Robert, through most of the game, and as Laura in just one segment. In this game, you play as many characters, sometimes even at the same time instead of just one at a time. The story focuses on what happened directly after the first game. The big bad in the first game was replaced by a Nazi-esque zealot that believed in him. He, like the average inhabitant of the world, only knew Conroy's propaganda and not the truth, that he was an evil twat. A little bit of rewriting going on. I don't remember that line. I love the addition of being able to switch between characters. It adds so much to the game, even though it's something so small and simple. Each character can do different things, and they behave completely differently as well. Voices, music, graphics, humor are all just as good as they were in the first game. The main lead, Robert, is, well, for lack of a better word, just as Roberty as he was in the first game. There's one caveat to how Robert is. Conroy, being dead, is now in his head. So now you hear Conroy talking to Robert while Robert is talking to other people, and it's hilarious. I think Conroy became an even bigger douche in this game. It was great every time Conroy talked. It promoted laughter, hard laughter. Laura is back with significantly more bite than previously, which I thought was amazing. The new big bad isn't really mean or rude like Conroy was, but he's very anal about everything being just the way Conroy wanted it. And he's a zealot. He doesn't seem to actually be a bad guy. He has some character faults, but he's not outright evil like Conroy was. He's just wrong about facts. He's trying to do the right thing via very bad methods because of bad information. Oh my god, it sounds like modern society. The way the game shows him in power reminds me of, there's no way to sugarcoat it. It just feels very Nazi-ish. Hey, very topical. Everyone is wearing patches denoting themselves as anti-flute noses. Just the feeling of the world. Even the big bad himself kind of looks like what I would expect a Hitler Asposian would look like. Under the new big bad, the general populace who hated Conroy have become convinced that all the problems were caused by the flute noses. He announced he was going to imprison and kill them all, which again, pretty Nazi-like, which was jarring. I mean, the more I hear about the references, it's just like...
I just feel like this was a news article and not a review for game.
Recent news out of Charlottesville. I didn't expect something like that in a little point-and-click Charlottesville town location. Well, a point-and-click game like this, I should have thought that since the first game talked about genocide and the corruption of monarchies, these games deal with some heavy shit in a really lighthearted, comedic way. My biggest drawback to this game, and both of them for the matter, are the save and load menus, which is, well, kind of shitty. It's hard to tell what you're clicked on, and if you have multiple saves, each game lets you have 3, everything is gray, and what you're highlighting is slightly brighter gray. I'm legally blind, so maybe it's easier for others to see, but I doubt it. The settings menu wasn't bad because the words next to what was, what you were modifying would turn orange. That feature should also be in the save load menu. Another quality of life issue, if you pause the game, you just can't hit B to go back to the game. You have to cycle up to continue and click on it to get back in the game. The last drawback for me was I felt the puzzles in this game were more often confusing and convoluted than in the first, which probably isn't bad for people who play older point-and-click games like the Monkey Island series. I didn't, so some of this stuff just didn't make sense because it wasn't straightforward and logical for me. But for those who like the genre, they're used to the game's odd logic, so it probably wasn't an issue. Beyond that, the game is great, just like the first. It does have a nice opening that gives you a general idea of what happened in the first game, but it's not in-depth enough, so I suggest getting the first game as well if you're into this. Physical edition will be sold for $40 and include the first game, which costs $15. Digitally, the second is just $25 on Steam or $30 on Xbox and PS4. Both games are about 6 to 10 hours long, depends on how much you suck at figuring out puzzles, so let's ballpark around 12. Personally, I'd like to see it closer to 20, but I could settle for 25. I'd wait for a slight sale on console, though. I think it's total buy it, though, honestly, and I'm not even a big point-and-click fan. I love the game, it's hilarious, but get the first game too. You need them both. You can thank me later. So it sounds like if no one's ever played the series before, getting the physical for $40 with both games is the way to do it.
I might have to take that to heart. I love point and clicks, but I hadn't played the first Inner World, which is why I didn't take the second one. So
I thought you did play the first one. That's why I offered you.
I know. It was not for lack of wanting, but I just somehow never ended up in my ready to install. So
son of a bitch, Cole.
I need to change that.
Well, let's talk about a game that you have played, and that is Slayaway Camp Butcher's Cut, developed by Blue Wizard Games and published by Digerati Distribution. It released October 24th on Xbox One and PS4 for $16.99. A killer puzzle game where you control Skullface, a psychotic slasher hell-bent on revenge. Slide this adorably demented murderer around hundreds of isometric puzzle levels to squash, flay, and decapitate hapless victims in this darkly comic homage to 80s horror movies. Cole, what is this game?
This game is absolutely amazing. And I have to say, I lead off that way because when I first saw it, I wasn't really excited about it. I had just seen like some of the title art and knew the name of it. And I was just like put off by the blocky Minecraft style character design that I was just kind of like, really? But then I launched it and everything changed. And then I spent 24 straight hours just solving puzzles with an adorable murderer.
24 hours.
I'm pretty sure I played this in every spare moment I have had since Tuesday night.
Holy balls.
I completed the game and I'm about halfway through all the NC-17. I'll get into all that in a minute.
Give us the details.
So, basically the menu system of the game is set up like your old school video stores. I'm old. I remember going into an actual rental store and picking up a VHS tape and taking that shit home and watching it. So that's how we did entertainment in Redneck Land in the 80s. Of course, the game is, like you said, the homage to, 80s and 90s slasher flicks. Think, Nightmare on Elm Street, Michael Myers, and Halloween, and all of those. So, each section of the game is broken down into a movie, and each movie is broken down into scenes. So, for your first movie, you have Slayaway Camp. Might sound a little Friday the 13th-ish, as well as should. You have your little adorable blocky murderer who is named Skullface. And each scene is played out as a level from an isometric view, although you can press X to get an overhead if you are struggling, which is important because sometimes you can't see the traps. It is laid out in a grid system, and there will be certain environmental elements that you need to worry about, such as fire or holes or whatever. To play, you press your thumbstick, right, left, up, or down, and whichever direction you move, you will move all the way until you hit an obstacle. So, say for your first level, there is a victim at the end of the room, and you press over one time, and you will slide all the way until you reach that victim, and then Skullface will murder them.
Yay!
Brutally. I say brutally. I want to note there are options. There is a slider in the menu where you can turn down the gorosity. And that's the exact term for it. I am being technical here. It's gorosity. And you can set it to PG or R. The R section of the slider is way larger than the PG section, so you gotta work to get it to the PG section because they very much don't want you to play it that way. And even on PG, there is still murder, but it removes the blood. We still, the victims get chopped and turn into a skeleton, so it's still not really PG. More like PG-13 and a half. And when you get really good kills, the voice over comes up and says murderlicious and splatterlicious and all this kind of good stuff that you probably don't want kids to listen to. But it's so good. So like I said, you push one direction and you will slide that direction until you hit an object, which can then stop you, and then you can go another direction. So it's all about planning how you're going to attack your victims while avoiding the elements that can harm you as well. And this gets built on throughout the course of the movies as each different, instead of chapters, you have your movies. So when you get to the end of the scenes, you finish the movie and you move on to the next. It unlocks the next movie. So you have Slayaway Camp, Slayaway Camp 2, Slayaway Camp 2.5, Slayaway Camp 3D, and then it goes into Slayaway High, Office Hours, all the way up to Slayaway Camp X, Space Camp. There are also 4 extra movies that you can play, which is Hell Camp, My Gory Valentine, and Santa's Slay, S-L-A-Y.
Oh, man. Is Bill Goldberg in that version? Because there's a shitty Halloween Christmas-style movie called Santa's Slay that stars Bill Goldberg as Santa who kills people, and it's incredible.
I know there's... you can unlock extra killer skins. And the way to do this is to put in a code. When you press the start button, there's an option for killer code with 2 Ks. And if you put in those codes, you unlock extra skins for your killers. I know one of them is Mark Meer, who I think was the voice of Shepard in Mass Effect. And there was another one, and I remember thinking that was an important one, and I can't remember who it was.
Well, it needs Bill Goldberg if they have Santa's Slay. But anyway.
So I think there's, for some reason, I don't want to be wrong and say yes and then be wrong. So, but it is an option. You have to look up the killer codes. Like, you don't unlock them in the game. They're just something you find extra and add to the game for yourself. There was a Santa, there's a Jill Snow, which is a hateful lady snowman, snow woman. Nice. Look at me not being politically correct. Yeah, but that's not me. You can get a mutated candy cane, a gelatinous blob, just everything under the sun. There are even YouTubers who have codes that have played the game, they have a YouTuber code, and you can be them. And you can
I never got asked to be in the game. Oh, these Digerati guys! I'm gonna have to find out what the fuck's going on.
We're gonna have to get an SML code.
We are, but it sounds like it's a massive game. Tons to do. Really cool, violent. $17. What's your thoughts?
I absolutely love it. This is a definite buy it, and I wanna specify too. I sit and listed off all of the movies. For each movie, when you complete the movie, you get deleted scenes, which adds another 8 to 10 scenes for each movie.
Nice.
And then when you beat the entire game, you unlock NC-17 mode, which adds another dozen scenes for each movie. There is literally so much to do, and I have played this nonstop, and I'm still not all the way through the NC-17. And in addition to that, you get coins for completing the scenes, and there's a bonus. Anybody that loves puns needs to play this. And one of the best ones is there's a little cut scene, and when it popped up, I was using the clown character from the abusement park.
Oh, God.
And it popped up this little cut scene where the clown is trying to ice skate and he falls and his skates come off, and like he's sitting there and he kind of kicks him and he just goes, and sighs, and another figure skater goes by and is doing fine. So the clown picks up one of the skates and throws it and cuts the figure skater in half, and it comes up and goes, "This figure skater," and you're just like, I laughed so hard. I had no good excuse for loving that so much.
Now I know what I'm going to be playing the rest of the day. But
it's seriously like you just need to clear out your week and just play nothing but SMLoween. It's so good. I signed up. If you go to the website for Blue Wizard, which is the developers. First off, that website looks like it crawled out of GeoCities in 1997. And it, like, straight with bad MIDI music and everything. It's intentional and it's hilarious. If you were alive in that time and knew what GeoCities and Angel Fire was, you're going to see that and die. If you sign up for their monthly Murderer newsletter, every month they release a new killer code in that newsletter.
Nice.
So you can get extra killers straight in your email. And they will also send, when you first sign up, you're supposed to get an email with all the past killer codes. I didn't, but there's an email you can contact. And also I just went to YouTube and was like scouring the web for these killer codes because I was loving them so much that I think I got all but maybe one or two.
Nice.
So,
well, yeah, we do have to move on. I could tell you're super excited about this game, but there is more to talk about. So I'm going to have to rein you in.
No.
Next game to discuss is called Putty Pals, developed and published by Harmonious Games that released October 19th on the Switch for $9.99. Two adorable bouncing blobs are lost far from home, and only teamwork, communication, and a whole lot of cat standing in my way so I can't read my screen. A whole lot of hilarious mistakes will guide them back. Sitting side by side. Why can't I read? Sitting side by side on the couch, you and a friend will guide, bounce, squish, and swing your way through a vibrant cartoon landscape, solving puzzles, avoiding danger, and uncovering hidden secrets. This is basically a co-op 2D platformer. You start a stage, and you and your co-op partner have to get to the end of the stage, surviving all the pitfalls, all the traps that lay along the way. And here's the important part: working together.
Oh no.
Which is asking a lot in video game land. Before anyone gets worried, there is a single player mode. And then before anybody gets relieved, the single player mode I hated. Because, I try putting plenty of time into single player modes in games like this because so many people play alone. And I figured, there's a single player mode. It shouldn't be too bad. I couldn't do it. I could not get the controls down. The way the game works is you move with the analog stick, and then you have... Is
it one of those where you have to use both joysticks at the same time when you're playing single player? Yeah.
Yes. Normally you move a character with the analog stick and then you jump or turn it into a trampoline to assist on jumps with the right bumpers, the right bumper and the right trigger, which first off, I wish you could adjust the controls. I would love to just, if I'm playing co-op with someone, switch those to face buttons so that they're much, much easier to do. Yeah. When you play single player, one character, the analog stick and the buttons are on the left Joy-Con, the other character is on the right Joy-Con. You have to move them together. You have to set up trampolines and then jump on them and then move around. It, just trying to control the two characters at the same time made my brain hurt, and I couldn't do it. Like, I beat the first stage by myself, and I was like, I'm not going to another one. So
was it going to drive you to alcoholism?
So thankfully I have a wife who is patient and sometimes loving and caring enough to play a video game with me. And we were playing a whole shitload of it recently. We got through a big chunk of the game, bonus stages. Each stage has 3 little green and blue collectibles that you could carry or that you could collect. If you get all 3, it unlocks a bonus stage for that level. And in the bonus stage, you can unlock yet another bonus time trial by collecting the little clock collectible in that level. So we got through a bunch of the main game stages. We got through a bunch of the bonus stages, tested out the time trials. This game is so much more fun and enjoyable when you have someone there sitting next to you to play the game with you. I know there's a single player mode in the game. In my eyes, this is not a single player game at all. It's theoretically possible, but I believe that the mental gymnastics just don't work for a game like this. Otherwise, the game looks great. It has a cute visual style. The music was fine enough. It didn't really stick out to me, but it doesn't need to. It just played in the background and it sounded fine. Playability, besides the fact that you can't adjust your controls, I thought it controlled well enough. The characters moved the way I wanted them to. I didn't have these moments where I'm like, I made that jump. That's bullshit. Mm-hmm. The only time we were dying was most of the time intentional. Like, hey, we're both above a pit of lava and we're holding hands and I'm going to jump into the lava and pull you with me as we just laugh. It was hilarious. It is such a fun co-op experience. For $10, if you have a friend, a significant other to play this game with, buy it. If you only have yourself to play with, skip Putty Pals because single player is just not worth it. And then again, Harmonious, if you're listening, let me adjust the controls. I want to jump and trampoline with face buttons when I'm playing with 2 people. It's just so much easier. Good talk. All right, final game tonight is Abyss, The Wraiths of Eden, developed and published by our friends at Artifacts Monday. It released October 20th on Xbox One and PS4 for $9.99. Look at them with their simultaneous releases.
Nice.
Getting all fancy. The situation is dire. The notorious adventurer and explorer Robert Marceau has vanished into thin air. The only clue we've got is this letter attached to his message. Robert's fiancée rushed to his rescue, and her last message sent to the ocean's surface speaks of mysterious underwater city of Eden. What dark forces lurk at the bottom of the ocean? Will you manage to find Robert and defeat the mysterious legates? Cole, did you?
I did. Of course I did. It's an Artifacts Monday game. I had it completed in like 3 hours. I'm amazing.
So tell me about this
That's
one.
my dose of confidence talk for the day. So Abyss is your typical point-and-click hidden object puzzle Artifacts Monday game. Unlike the last couple, though, that we have seen with the Artifacts Monday title on them, this one was actually developed by Artifacts Monday. This was in-house, and so it has that classic Artifacts Monday feel. You have your main story with casual or expert mode, and you have a bonus chapter that unlocks once you complete the story. Again, you can play it on casual or expert mode. There are no collectibles to have to worry about missing at the very end and forcing a replay. There is no weird morality toy stuck in the middle of this one. It's just find hidden objects and use them. Thank goodness, because as much as I've enjoyed the other ones, this is the bread and butter of an Artifex Mundi title, and I am so grateful to see it back. As you said, you play as the fiance of a diver who is also a diver herself. In an odd twist, I don't think we're ever given her name. I don't remember it being mentioned any at all in the game. Typically, like in the introductory scene, we see the protagonist, who is always the same female. But we usually get some kind of backstory on her, and that's missing in the story this time. All we know is that she's going diving. Her experienced fiancé has gone missing while on a dive, and she doesn't think that the forces that be are doing a good enough job of finding him. So she's taking matters into her own hands. And during a thunderstorm, she jumps off a boat and into the water, and she's looking for her fiancé. That's basically the long and short of the introduction. So once she's underwater, she begins to see signs that he has left behind for her. Apparently on previous dives, he has a habit of leaving these yellow glow sticks so that he can be found to light the way for her. So again, this is classic point and click, what you expect when you load up an Artifex Mundi title. It's beautifully drawn in every scene. It's just, you're wowed by the detail that goes into these. And if I am not mistaken, they are hand drawn every time. Which is just, they're stunning. They're beautifully done. Find key items, use them to solve puzzles and to progress through the story. In this case, again, though, we are seeing for the story the sake of using some kind of dark ritual, but in an underwater scenario this time. There is the beautiful city of Eden, which is underwater, but has come under control of these dark forces called the Legates. And there is small pockets of resistance, so you will find help in Eden with overcoming the Legates and putting it into their ritual to release this demon into the world.
So it's BioShock Mundi?
I have heard others use that reference. I never played BioShock, though, so I don't understand.
What? You never played What the fuck?
I have the whole collection in there, too, on disc, just sitting in the cabinet, still in the plastic.
Well, that's your homework assignment for the weekend. But
homework assignments.
Overall, it sounds like more of the Artifex games we know and love.
It is. I would say, though, this one is actually a little longer running playtime than most of them typically are. I would say you could probably spend about 4 to 5 hours on your first playthrough if you're not using a guide. So usually you would say normally around 2.5 to 3. But yeah, this one will take you a little longer if you're not using a guide. It's a little more complicated.
So $10. What's your call?
Buy it. I don't know why
it's Artifex. It's buy it.
Everybody to buy these games. Like at this point, we need a new category for fuck it. It's Artifex Mundi. Buy it anyway. They don't fuck this up. This is their life's work, and they do this exceptionally well.
We already have one fuck it rating. We don't need another.
There's always room for another fuck it rating, Joe.
What's your verdict on this? It's an Artifex game.
Buy it. Yeah.
that could be the review. It's an Artifex game.
Artifact
and it just stands for, of course, fucking
like as soon as
why
you
are you
hear
asking,
this
you
is
stupid asshole?
As soon as you hear this is from Artifex Mundi, you don't even need the rest of my review. You already know I'm going to say this is a great game.
Very true.
They don't look at this. They do a very good job. And I'm happy every time somebody says, oh, there's a new Artifex Mundi game. And I'm just like, oh, even though I already know what I'm going to give it before it's even on my console. I'm never let down by these.
Man.
Even when I'm like, they add new mechanics and I'm just like, don't fuck with my good formula. It's still in the end, I'm just like, that was a satisfying experience. Puzzles are always, they're logical. You're not running around like, I need to use this pickaxe to climb a mountain and find rare flour that I have to take all the way back to under the water to feed to a turtle to get a piece of its shell. It's never anything that complex. It's always just like, that makes sense. This is how you progress the story because it's logical, and that's why I like them.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for joining and talking games. I know you'll be back soon.
Off on a couple tangents.
Yeah, just a few. It's like this episode wasn't long enough.
Sorry.
But we are going to end the show with some music from Thrashlevania, which is awesome. And Cole, any final words to end it?
Fuck it, buy an Artifacts Monday game.